pandemic and mental health taught me one thing, that I need to be part of the solution. If I can help one person, like affect them so they can lead a happier, healthier life, then it's all been worth it. Welcome everybody to Jukebox Jax, episode 6, someone's favourite number, as I've just been informed. My word, I think that has to be one of the longest lobby conversations I've had before even jumping into an episode so far.
Yeah, I've got to apologise because I can talk the back legs off a donkey. So it's going to be a good while.
Yeah, it's going to be a good episode because, to be fair, I said it to you. I think from like second lesson or second week that I'd met you, you're quite an articulate person when you're talking, so people can understand you.
I don't have to take a compliment, so I'm just going to shift past this because it makes me all a bit uncomfortable.
She's going home there, she's scratching her neck, even though she doesn't have an itch.
just ticking.
Yep. Ooh.
Now I'm hiding my face because now I can't cope with the analysis.
We're going again.
We are, right. Yes, no.
Without it sounding...
I do think I'm articulate, yes. I am fantastic.
Yeah. Without it sounding... I'm not going to say this episode's going to be morbid or it's going to be negative or anything like that. For those that seen advert, we're going to be reviewing the Access course that we've both been doing recently. I can't even off the top of my head think of why things are so funny, but they just are. And this is how it's led us into this introduction of this episode, still laughing from the lobby conversations. I'm
starting to think it might be a coping mechanism after this 9 months.
Most definitely.
Let's use the term mitigating circumstances. I think it's, if you didn't laugh, you'd cry. And I think we all had periods of crying from stress. Snapping at loved ones, the other side of this coin. But we've got through it now. We've done our exams. So we can smile again.
Well, this is it now, because we're gonna, for the therapeutic side and more importantly, the review that we're going to be doing for anybody else that's planning on going down this route, before we go back in time and torture ourselves mentally for what we've been through. We should talk about now, because we've all been looking forward to this point coming away from it, even though we're still waiting for his final results. But how are you doing now? How have you been doing since the last exam? How is life now treating you now? It's kind of back to normal for you.
So I'm still working. So I only ever work 24 hours a week anyway. So it's enough to get by, feeling like I've still got something to do. But life's nowhere near as busy. I am so much calmer.
Yeah.
It was quite strange, actually. I felt like I feel better about my job when I'm not doing college, because I'm not in the day-to-day actively doing the thing that I'm working towards, and so it doesn't seem so much of a comparison.
Yep.
So I think I'm kind of enjoying the work more. Now I've not got college to do. I'm sleeping better. That's true. That goes without any doubt for all of us, I'm sure. And generally, just doing well. I'm glad to have gotten to this point. It came around so much quicker than I ever anticipated, because even back in December, January time, when we were fully online and we didn't have a clue what was happening with those first exams and stuff like that, it was an absolute minefield knowing what we were going to do, and it just felt ages away. And now it's here and uni's around the corner, and then that's a whole new level of kicking off. There's always some anxiety just running underneath with this process. I think when you care about what you want to do, there always is, isn't there?
This is it. And those people, anybody listening, anybody watching, that just bear with us during this episode, because we did try and get as much stuff condensed down as possible, but as brains, because it's still raw. And I say raw instead of fresh because it's been quite traumatic. It's very raw. It is like a wound. It's still healing, and the scab keeps splitting, and it's not quite ready yet. So
we're rubbing some salt in by doing this.
Yeah, we are.
Not our smartest decision.
It's going to be a roller coaster of emotions this episode, because we're gonna talk about the things that we enjoyed. We're going to talk about things that frustrated us, things that made us plain and simply pretty pissed off.
Yeah.
But it's good for us to do that. It's certainly for me when I decided, I want to do this episode for two fronts. I want to give back to any other adult learners, or not even necessarily adult learners, but young learners that's coming into it and they're kind of like, oh, I can't do that. I'm not going to do it. So they're not going to follow their own dreams because this first stumbling block. So for that part, I wanted to do this episode to give back, give a little bit of information, some experience, a review of what we've been through on a very challenging COVID experience. But it's more of a therapeutic thing for me. Like we were talking the other day, it's a closure thing. I need closure. It's like literally, by no means am I making a joke of it when I say this, but people will totally understand that who's done things like this. Like it's the culmination of a really messy relationship.
Yes, it is. And it's reaching the end of that really messy relationship and going, I think I feel better now.
Yeah.
There's kind of something missing. I'm not really sure how I got through that.
Yes, exactly.
It's definitely affected every single one of us in different, and I think different ways with a similar sort of undercurrent, like you say.
Most definitely. Similar. Because again, we're going to just constantly, I've got notes here for us to kind of try and stay on track, but we're just going to jump backwards and forwards everywhere. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're going to have a right edit job on this.
Yeah, it's like you just said then, because there were certain individuals on course who I felt from the get-go were just miles ahead of other people. Like people like, when you're talking about the biology side of things, people like Layla, that it was still fresh to her, the studying she's just done.
Yeah.
But then towards the end, nothing against her or anything like that, but she'd first say, I'm fucking crawling over a line here. Like, this is just... So that's, in that respect, that's how it affected people in different ways. They'd have certain strengths in certain modules. But I think it was more of the collective reassurance that we're all giving each other, like, you know what? None of us are failing this. I'll drag you off a line if I need to. Like, you're going to get through this course because of what's to come afterwards.
I felt that most strongly with you, if you don't mind me saying, because you had such a busy schedule and you're like just this absolute glutton for punishment. And I mean, I hear you because I'm a hard worker myself and I've got that work ethic. And so I get that you're wanting to achieve so much. And then when you had a family bereavement as well, anything I could have done to help you, of course, I was going to do anyway in that situation. But then when you just carried on plowing through, children, working fucking nights, and then being like, oh shit, I missed the first Tuesday lesson. Of course you did. We don't work since 8 till 8 a.m. What are you talking about? Of course you did. Anything I could have done to help you, I felt that more with you. I mean, I would have helped anybody, don't get me wrong. But I felt that more, and it's the reason I tried to offer you so much of the stuff I've done. Here, take it off.
Just take
because I could be there. My little one was often in nursery Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Wednesday afternoons. So I had a little bit of time to myself on a Wednesday afternoon to catch up with anything and all of that. So it worked out quite well for me. And you didn't have such a schedule because you were so busy. And I just wanted to help you. I just wanted to help you. I did. I was just like, I think I was like mother henning you.
It's completely right what you were saying as well, because and I am first to say I am a glutton for punishment in terms of me with my own time, my own schedule. A lot of that,
and your work ethic, let's be fair. Your work ethic knows no bounds.
That's it. I add all them things together, it leaves me very little time. But I think that comes down to, I've spoke about it in previous episodes, how I've got a very, sometimes I used to describe it as an overactive mind, but I've learned over time it's not overactive. I've just got that many creative processes going through in my head, and I've got to see, like, at least start them to see if it leads somewhere. I can't kind of, so that as a collective comes together, and then before I know it, I have got no time at all. But I knew that coming into it, and that's why I thought it had add a little bit more validity to the argument at the end of the review of this course, because it's like, if I can get through it, then other people can get through it. And I know there's a lot more people that's got more on than I've got. Completely, I get that.
I don't think so.
Stay with me with this.
I mean, not to put down the workload of anybody who's listening or watching for a second, but the sheer amount that you have to do in a day, they can't be. The amount of little processes you've got, it's just like, my mum used to say to me about spinning plates, you can only spin so many at once. And sometimes you've just got to let go of that one to spin that one a little bit harder, and you can go back and balance them all again.
Yeah.
So this, just to show you, in case you didn't know what a spinning plate looked like. But then I think, right, okay, so I've got, mum, wife, daughter, worker, student, all of these. So I've got probably between 7 and 10. You've got 7 and 10 on a day. Right? Add another couple in. Come on, boys. Let's take on some editing as well, and let's take on some podcasting and all the jobs that you do with that. It just blew my mind, and I just wanted to help you, because I was like, I can't explain it. I'm trying to find a way that you can at least edit out the other shit I've said. I honestly, I got it. I felt it with your work ethic, and I felt it with you wanting to achieve everything you wanted to achieve. And so I so wanted to help you get there.
Yeah.
And I couldn't help you things like your podcasting, and I couldn't help you with anything like that at that point. And I couldn't help you feel better about the things you're going through as a family or anything like that. But what I could help you with was I could send you biology notes. So I did. Fucking have these. Any notes of them?
The level of sport that which we're going to touch on later in the episode, but the level of sport that everybody's shown. But yeah, man, you especially. Yeah. I've said it numerous times to you.
We looked after each other, to be fair. We did look after each other.
Yeah,
for sure.
I just it's one of them moments, and none of us would go down the cliche route, say that we won't make it through the course without each other. But we definitely wouldn't be holding the level of sanity that we have actually got, where we can laugh.
Sure.
If it wasn't for each other.
For sure. I don't think those demoralising times and those really tough times that we had, we would have gotten through with the sanity and the success that we did.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for the support of our bubble, because we had a great little bubble.
Yeah.
And there were other bubbles that had a bit of a question mark over some of the people in them, and we didn't. We had a great little bubble, and so we were lucky in that regard, and we all had a very similar mindset in looking after each other that way.
Definitely. Let's jump into the access course. When was the first time you heard about what an access course was?
So mine was a bit back and forth. So I started working at NHS 111, right? And I initially thought I was going to children's nursing because I had more. This is going to sound terrible and maybe edited out, but I had so much more patience for children.
Yeah.
Than any other. Because to me, adults, I'm like, right, okay, if you're not taking care of yourself, I don't have the same level of patience for you. Because take some paracetamol, you think you feel better.
Yeah.
It's not hard. Yeah. I don't really want to take paracetamol. Well, I don't really want to listen to you then. But I've got to. So I started thinking about children's because I found I had more patience for children's. And then as I thought about it further and further, I realised I'm just going to carry children's. Every one of them. Every one of those really tough ones. I mean, not every child I ever see. Every one of those really tough ones where you've got to do safeguarding.
Yeah.
Or there's something and you just can't pinpoint it. It's just you can't safeguard and you've got instinct, of course. So,
yeah,
every single one of those, I'd have wanted to bring them home. I'd have wanted to mother them. And I wouldn't have been able to leave work, close the door and leave it where it was. So I decided adult because I thought I can be a bit more ruthless with them and go if I need to. And with a clinical training, I can say, take some paracetamol and shut up. Yeah. So I thought that's where I want to be. So decided to go down that path. And honestly, I didn't find it very transparent, actually, when I was looking at adult nursing. And when I was looking into adult learner stuff, I was finding a lot of, Learn Directs and stuff where you pay yourself, or Open University, where you pay yourself to do it. And it's more like 12 £2,000 ish,
Yeah.
but it's coming out your own pocket. And I'm like, I'm very surprised. And
Yeah.
I found, I think it was on Instagram. So, and I was looking more into kind of the nursing sort of pages and stuff, and somebody had mentioned or hashtagged even Access course graduate or something like that. And so I thought, Access course, what's this? And I Googled it, and then I found out what it was. And then I looked further into funding for it and found out about the advanced learner loan. But it wasn't there, I didn't think, very transparently as a step-by-step, here's how you can become a nurse as an adult learner.
Yeah.
Even if you've been to uni before, even if you've done all of this before. And actually, when you started down the process, once you found the process, it was very simple.
Yeah.
And then that's how I started ahead. Had the interview, which was just the interviewer talking at me.
Yeah.
For a good 35 minutes. And yeah, then here I am. Now moving towards the step I actually wanted to be on, which of course was uni. But I'm glad I did it, because there is nothing I think that could have prepared us more. How did you find it?
So it's good that you found it that way. Like you actually, well, you stumbled across it, but then you actively researched and found out more information about it, because I stumbled across it solely because I just applied straight to Leeds Beckett's, spoke to their admissions, and they said, you haven't got enough UCAS points based on your qualifications.
Mm-hmm.
Now I've got A-level psychology and stuff from like 18 years ago, but I just still
time though, isn't it?
Yeah, I just still thought, and I said it on the episode to Felix and stuff, like I was a bit bewildered by it, because I'd got people who had just done degrees, friends, family members that did them a while ago, and they were the ones who supported me in my decision, and they were like, no, like you'll be able to get onto a degree with what qualifications you've got, you'll be able to jump straight onto a degree. So then to be told you haven't got enough UCAS, but I'm like, well, how does that work? So then it were quite honest. I forgot what the guy's called, because it's been that long now, but he basically said it in layman's terms, like it should be. Like he didn't bullshit about things. He goes, look, the reality is you've not been in a learning environment for 18 years. So
that's what I got
your
told.
qualifications you've got now don't hold or don't carry as much points as, say, somebody that did them 2 years. And I'm like, me being me straight away, I'm like, wait, just step back. Let me go through over that again. So if they've done the same qualifications I did, but they did them 2 years ago, they've got more UCAS points than me. And he's like, yeah, kind of, yeah. Yeah,
because yours don't really carry UCAS points past that. Is it 5 year point?
That's as it
past
turns
that 5 year point, that they don't carry anymore. So mine did. So my A-levels were in completely unrelated, like French, Spanish, English, business, that sort of thing. Completely unrelated, but they were good grades. So they carried a good UCAS tariff grade on them, or points on them, should I say. But they weren't, because I went in the pre-COVID world, I went to an open day when I first started thinking about it. I think it was Hull I went to. And I spoke to them and they said, you've got to do a course. And the reason for it is to show that you've been in a learning environment. So that you're not coming into uni and going, what the heck is this? Not knowing what to do, feeling completely overwhelmed and dropping out within 10 minutes. So because you don't know what to do. And it's not that you can't achieve, it's just that you're not kind of programming yourself to learn again.
And that's
I got that logic, but the UCAS tariff point thing was irritating.
That was baffling to me. You see how I caught my mic right quick then? That was brilliant. That it'd have been effortless if I'd have not even vocalized it, like no one would have known. Well done, Jax.
You could have styled that out.
Yeah, style it, wing it. Nah, there's plenty of time for that.
Yeah, there is. You fall off your chair, fingers crossed.
Yeah, that's probably going to happen, most definitely, to be fair. So the for those people that are tuning in, and obviously they've seen descriptions on whether it's any form of social media on any of our channels, if it's YouTube, or it's just come up as part of a search if someone's specifically searching for Access course information or UCAS information. The Access course gives you a route into, just like Lauren said, it gives you a route into moving progressively towards doing a degree. As it turns out, there is, like Lauren touched on, an advanced learner loan. So for those people that have not got savings, or they're not able to just justify throwing what is pretty much $3,500 at a course, you can apply for a advanced learner loan. that learner loan it's not as the standard. I'm trying to word this right. It's not as the standard person's thought process.
It's not repayable so long as you go into higher education, but I think there's a time limit on that. Was it 2 years?
Yeah.
Because you're going into higher education. It's higher because this is further education, isn't it? And it's higher education. Within 2 years, you don't have to pay it back. But if you drop out for any reason or are kicked out for any reason, and you don't go into higher education within that 2 year kind of remit, you've got the £3 to pay, of course, to student finance. So
just like Lauren said, in that respect, it's a case of you can sign on and do this, and at no point are you, even throughout this, this year-long course that you're doing, it's not as if you're having things deducted from your wage, you're not having to pay anything. Like, it literally nothing comes from you. The loan gets paid directly to whatever college you're doing your access course through. And then from that point, as long as you go on to study a degree, which, to be fair, our experience from doing an access course, there might be mitigating circumstances why you wouldn't go on to it, but I'd definitely say it's within the 90% mark of a sort of positive vibe that you would be going to university afterwards. So therefore, it gets written off. You don't end up obviously having to pay that back anyway. We'll touch on the UCAS actual process and the actual student loan as we go further on through conversation. Because the one thing I learned when I was originally researching, before I stumbled across obviously the access course as it is, was I just couldn't find stuff anywhere. Even me, the modern day me, where I was like, anything I want to know, anything I want to learn, YouTube. Even on YouTube, like, because I didn't know the terminology of things, like anywhere I went, I'm like, well, that's brilliant. That's 15 minutes in my life I'm never getting back. And they've not actually given me any advice on what I need to know, or where I need to apply and stuff like that. So
I didn't find it very clear or transparent. And looking into, and I was Googling specifically adult learner nursing, and you could even find things about, what's it called? Is it the learner support fund for when you're actually at uni? And obviously that'd be more if you've got children, if you go into like mental health nursing in certain areas where they've not got a great retention of nurses or recruitment of nurses, there's money to be given. And that's all really, really clear. But it's the getting that learning. If you, like you say, if you don't have £3,000, £3,500, whatever it is, sat on one side, it's finding that money from the government. It's just not very clear. It just wasn't very. It wasn't kind of, you went onto one website about it and it was there to say, this is what you need to do, or in this circumstance do this, in this circumstance do that. But no, it was
because
I think this is a good idea for you to do, just to make people aware. I'm going to put the light on because you literally can't see my face. That's all at this point. It's going to be some good editing here, Cop.
So just while Lauren's just stepping away and instantly illuminating her background, and
she's back
throughout this episode. Obviously, as always, those people that obviously follow the Jukebox Jax content, it's available on Spotify. It's available on YouTube, either on audio or video format. So throughout the episode, there'll be advertisements coming through, little information about UCAS, information about access course, where specifically to go, and then I'll put that information on the actual detail of the description on UCAS. So to make it nice and easy for people, like we're talking about here, the process wasn't really easy for us, but now we're in a position to give back and give people a little bit of information. At least you can just go to the first two sources you need to go to, forget everything else. It'll take you to where you need to be. And then you've got a more educated idea if you're actually able to sign on and do this. Because like we've already covered, if you were concerned about now a loan, going down that avenue, don't worry about it, because you don't have to pay it back unless you go down, obviously, the avenue where you don't go to university. Just say, sake of argument, and you don't go down to the uni route, it's still not a case of it's going to be taken off in sums of money that's going to sort of be detrimental on a monthly basis to you. It'll be at a lower. And to be fair, because if you've already gone through the process of not achieving what you need to go on to university, in all likelihood, it's not an avenue that we've fortunately gone down, but I'd imagine there'll be circumstances, and obviously those people at Access or even through UCAS would be able to advise further on that. So let's jump into the actual access course. Now we've touched on what it is, the process and what goes on. So let's do a disclaimer before we jump into it. As everybody knows, at this time of what's happened, we got hit with the COVID pandemic very early on. Like, we signed on September 2020. And we were already pretty much in the mix. We thought we were coming out of things because we actually was on campus for the first few, what felt like first few months, but it was probably first few weeks in reality. And then things changed because obviously as it were leading up to Christmas, lockdown restrictions were put back in place, albeit temporarily. So yeah, after a slight connection issue, yet again, 100% record, might I add. So well done, you. Bravo. Round of applause.
Just wanted to join the team.
We had the pandemic that hit us. So our journey's been a little bit different to those people that have done access courses before. But we'd kind of been getting in a little bit of a swing, but something else happened before we then got restricted to full online learning. And that was one of our, to be fair, as I saw it, the main academic studies that we were going to be doing in terms of the biology, our main tutor just vanished. Just like, she didn't disappear, but in terms of from us, we had no explanation why she'd gone. It was just, she's off. It's not COVID related. They definitely said that, but we've got no further information when she's coming back, and she never came back. Which, FYI, Amy, if you are listening to this, we'll be doing all right. We managed and we missed you. Yes, we most definitely did.
We did. We really did.
We just because it's quite important when we talk about things like this, how when you're talking about learning, not just as an adult learner, but when you learn in general, you don't realize in the heat of the moment, but you kind of adapt to a teacher's style of how they're teaching things, and it deciphers in your head. You manage to follow the system, and then when that person goes, and then someone else comes in and they've got their own style, the frustrations are felt on both sides, from the lecturer and then the students, because it's assumed that we should just get it because it's still the same content. It doesn't matter how it's being delivered, and it's like, but how it's been explained to us now, again, it wasn't detrimental to Abbas in that sense, but he was from a higher field as I saw it in terms of his studies. Like he were tailored in one avenue, and he'd been, when we were literally on campus, the number of times he would say, guys, just stop me if I go on a tangent, because I'll just go down a path and I'll keep going until someone stops me. Because, and that's exactly it. It's just exactly like you said, he was that passionate about it that sometimes that he kind of gave us too much information, because he'd talk for 15 minutes about something, and then I distinctly remember it was probably one of the last classes that we had there before we went into 100% online learning. And it was Hannah was sat near the door, like, because we all had his own space. I accidentally made the mistake one at times of sitting somewhere that I didn't sit before, and then got told I had to move and had to sit. So I was
like a 4-year-old.
Yeah, it was literally, I were on left hand side in middle of the room. Jodie were next to me, and then you were next to Jodie. And I think it was. I think Layla were in front of Jodie. Amy would diagonal that way to Catherine were in front of me.
We Doris were all diagonal from each other. There was nobody kind of directly behind or next to each other, and it was.
I distinctly.
We had to have more of a gap because we were older, which is just.
That's it. Yeah, that seemed completely
embarrassing.
A lot of it seemed weird, but yeah, I remember when Hannah said after Abbas had been talking, one at times 15 minutes had gone past, and then Hannah were like, because obviously she were brilliant in this sense, how she'd say it quite often after something would get said, she'd be like, so how much of this is going to be on test, or how much is this is going to be on assignment that we're gonna, and she'd ask, and then when it was just the way Abbas was sort of like, see, this is what I mean, because none of it's going to be on exam. So she's like,
why? We didn't know when to stop him, because we didn't know what wasn't when he told us to, and it was a lot of pressure to put on us until he got a better grip of what was needed, what minimal level of detail actually was needed for what we were doing, because we were almost doing a little bit of AS, a little bit of A2, and a little bit kind of biochemistry, and there was all sorts of these little bits put together to make our version of this course. And it was, he said himself when we went online, I think he said it, he had only ever taught college, and it was biology and it was chemistry, and he specialised obviously in biochemistry. And he was so passionate and so excited about it, and he was great in that way. And if you wanted to really understand something to its core, he was fab. But he was used to teaching 16, 17-year-olds, and that was clear at points that we'll probably come to later. But it took some adjusting, not just for him, for us, like you say. You know, Amy had gone, I'm assuming, off sick. And I really do hope she's okay with whatever happened. But it took some period of adjustment for him to get used to teaching the Access course, for him to get used to teaching older students, and also for us to get used to his way, which did happen for all of us. We all found a happy ground. But it wasn't straight away. And then when we went online soon after, it was just like salt in the wound straight away. It was a mare at points. Yeah,
because I distinctly remember, obviously, like you touched on, Abbas were adjusting to us as adult learners. Like he said, he had this preconception. Maybe it was the information he'd been given, because he said that he'd not worked for the college before either. They'd basically just got him in.
He'd literally just come in.
They'd brought him in as like support staff, and then with the view of bringing other people in to assist him, but then they fell out wayside because of COVID, and he ended up having to fend for himself.
I think they brought some in, and then they lost one of their originals. So I think either they went off sick or they handed the notes in. But they got two in, and they're like, right, okay, so we've replaced Amy, and we've got another one, and then the other original that was there died off as well. And I don't know what happened to them, but then you were suddenly there with two people, and they're putting Abbas on a silly amount. And I'm assuming then this other person was on a silly amount as well, trying to balance everything, which then meant that all the kind of the surplus stuff that teachers don't always get time allowed for, bless their hearts, just he couldn't do. He just didn't have the capacity to do it. So then we were pressuring for results and feedback and all of that. You know, we'd done assignments. There was absolutely no feedback at all before we did exams, because he just didn't have time to offer it. And then we went into the exams very blind on what we needed to know and what we didn't know, where our weak spots were. Thankfully, we got through it. But it was tough. I remember that point. I had a week or two where I cried a lot, and it was just the level of stress at that point. That was definitely the hardest. Definitely, I remember. You know, when you're snapping at people and you can feel that you're stressing, you can't stop yourself. Until you really deal with the actual thing. So I had a weekend when my mum took the little one. I just got through all the assignment work I had to do, did some revision as well, and was just like, right, I can carry on now without crying every other day.
Yeah, because I mean, we like we'll discuss many times in this episode, like our support bubble that we had in, and when we say, for those people that don't understand what we're talking about when we say support bubble, we're not talking about distinctly COVID support bubble, but it's the academic, basically it's your class that you would have been in, your classmates around you, but because of the COVID times, it will moved into a bubble format where you guys were constantly away from college through work and stuff. You were all being tested and stuff. So that bubble that were there was, you know, no COVID infections anytime somebody did or was in contact with, they had to isolate for a week, 10 days, whichever it was. But the level of support that came with that academic bubble in those times we're talking about, and it was always interesting that we all had the same mindset. We'd all have days, myself included, where it was just like, Jesus Christ, I can't do this. Like, it's too much. But then one of us had always come back full circle and usually quote someone else that's already given the advice a week before, saying, look, let's not forget how the reality of what's happening here. We've already had assignments for the other modules and we've all got distinctions. Biology is the issue. So we're going into doing exams here and we've already handed in as assignments, but we've not even been given feedback on assignments. So let's not use that as a precursor that we're not doing well. when the reality is it's not a failing on our part. We've not been given the adequate feedback. We've not been able to assess in our own knowledge if things are going in right, if we need to switch up a study style to adapt to it. And I think that were important, which led even into like semester 2, to be fair, like after Christmas, that I still had that same mindset of when I'm having these conversations with myself in my head about the biology, and then I'm sort of like, well, do you know what? I can't be that rubbish at it because I'm smashing the other stuff. Safeguarding.
Yeah, that I am getting feedback on.
Yeah. And I'm just getting it. And so it can't be me in that sense. It's got to be, and not necessarily the tutor, but it's got to be that. It's got to be the way that's being taught.
It was the setting, the circumstance, the uncontrollable on a lot of levels to the tutor, to us, to the college, even to an extent, although that's a separate issue, isn't it? The exam board as well, another question mark for me there. Yeah. But that was, it was out of control, a lot of it. And it was the fact that they didn't, with the first 2020 COVID, as I said to you in the lobby chat, the first 2020 COVID, nobody had a clue. Yep. We didn't know what this virus was. We didn't know where it was come from. We didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know who was at risk. So all that happened in March, which you can have your own opinions on when it happened, was they took everybody out and said, put yourselves away, keep yourself safe. Let's keep you all alive as best we can. Great. Limit our contact with each other and everything that we did from there. And so on that ground, they estimated.
Yes.
And they were fair to do so. And I know that there was issues with that as well, but they estimated. Yes. And I mean, again, you could go down a rabbit hole with the whole area thing. I had an issue with that as well, of course. But when they were getting people's and estimating people's grades, great. And that I thought that was an appropriate response. But then when it came to ours, and we were in that 2020 to 2021 year, where people should have had some more understanding, and did have some more understanding. And the NHS was, at the point that we were studying, the point that we're talking about, was not under the intense pressure that it had been back in like March, April time. Yeah, it looked like maybe we were coming out of it. They just didn't seem to know how to manage that.
Yeah.
Because there wasn't an option, because we understand it a little bit, there almost wasn't an option of, let's just put you away and keep you safe, and let's just estimate. Even though we've got assignments, and even though we've got work that you've handed in that isn't graded, and you've still got to do exams. And no A-level students aren't doing exams, and no GCSE students aren't doing exams, and no, these people aren't doing exams, but you are.
Yeah.
And it was like, and then eventually, BTEC courses were told, you won't do exams. And we were literally the only group in the college we went to who were doing exams. Now, I don't know that that's the case across the board, with different exam boards, different colleges, of course. But it was so demoralising to be, it felt like overlooked, because they didn't have control of it. And they did, and I don't mean like, the spread of the virus or anything like that. I mean, the situation for us.
Yeah.
They didn't have control of it, and they didn't know what to do. And so we're just like, do your exams at home. Great. And at first they were like, record them. And then we were like, who's got that much storage? And, do we send them? What do we do? And then they were like, don't record them. And you're like, nobody knew. Nobody knew what to do.
Because it was, obviously at the time when, in my memory, it was coming up towards December, and we were already planning, like us as our academic bubble, we were already asking the relevant questions. The college at that point, in their defense, couldn't answer, but our argument to that was, you should have already have asked these questions. Like, we're asking, you should have already asked them to be given the answer of, if the government goes down this route, then what do we do? Yeah,
and had those contingency plans in place.
Which they didn't.
They were never there.
No. And that became abundant. Yeah, it became abundant, that, didn't it? Because we were constantly being told, look, we don't have the answer, but we're going to be sitting down with, in our instance, I believe it was CAVA. CAVA's the one who obviously ran and it was like, we're sitting down with them to get some answers. And it's like, it's 2 weeks away from our exams that you're either wanting us to come on campus and sit, or we're doing them online. How can you only be
having them estimated?
Yeah. How can you be having this conversation 2 weeks away? and only because we have been a pain in your ass asking you all the time.
We were.
But why have you? And it's like, well, we're waiting for like Gavin. Well, it's like, no. I sat, like, as everybody knows, even though I'm very anti-government and things like that, but they were the source of information to go for everything with the pandemic. Whether people like to believe what they were saying, or scientists will believe, like, if you didn't believe them or you thought, COVID were hoax or whatever, the point being is they were the ones who were setting the instructions for the nation, and that was around the world to follow. So if you wanted to know what the hell going on each day, you turned on TV because there was some form of accountability going on. Gavin Williamson stood in there, and I think I took a video of the entire speech he gave, and I sent it to our WhatsApp group. And he specifically said he will leave it up to he'll literally leave it up to the colleges to make their own conscientious decisions about what is best for the students they have been teaching. To which our college, after meeting with the board, was saying, no, the government is saying that you're going to have to go ahead with your exams. And then I'm like, at no point was that said. That is not what got said. It was, you could quite easily take the same decision that you've said. But then they went down the avenue of saying, because it's biology, because of the level of, that's involved in how many credits it holds as part of this course, we can't have projected grades. It can't be coursework related. It's going to have to be exam based, but we're still going to have to figure out how it's going to be exam based. Now, again, all this was challenging because of the pandemic. We're the first people to say it, but as an outsider looking in, imagine what that were like, not just for us, but for other students in our situations. The stress that's already there anyway. You've got a $3,500 course that you're on. You want to make sure you're getting into university. The stress that brings anyway, then add that on top of it of you don't even know what format this exam's going to run, to then be able to even revise for it, because if it is going to go down an avenue of it's, because some of them were like psychosocial exams were actually essay based, what we ended up doing. So then it's like, as well as I do, you don't necessarily
really do an assignment for that.
Exactly, and that was my thought process as well. Like, we could have easily have done the assignment based to it, and your level of revision is different because you can explain your way through an answer, whereas in an exam setting, you've literally you can put a maximum of 4 sentences. So it's all about buzzwords.
That was bad. So another thing that they did with these new exams that we did from home was they got rid of mark schemes. So where you at GCSE and I at GCSE and A level as well as you would see question, dotted lines, open bracket, 4 close brackets, open bracket, 1 close brackets. You would know, okay, I can judge based on the fact that this is a 6 marker. I need to have a minimum of 6 sentences for this. But then, and this was the actual college we went to, this is Wakefield College.
Yep.
This was their decision, and it was the Access team's decision, not the exam board's, to change it to maximum however many sentences, which is an absolute kicker to try and work out how much, because there were some questions where you feel like you could explain it in kind of one long wordy sentence, and it said maximum 5, and you're like, what am I going to say for another 4 sentences? How much detail I need to go into?
Yeah.
And it was a lot harder to judge on the sentences. And I don't know what the logic or the reason was for that, other than, do you know what? They stick it to them a bit more. Fuck them. Fuck them. They got a clue what's going on anyway. So let's just fuck them up a bit more.
And do you know that is
why they did that?
That is so true, because there were so many.
But that continued through as well.
Yeah, it did
all
the way
they
through.
They did that up until the end.
Literally, like, we're talking for those people that's listening and watching. Like, literally, we're in June now. We finished our final exams, which were the biology ones.
Very end of May, wasn't it?
Literally 2 weeks ago, really. There or thereabouts.
So our last exam was on 27th of May.
So it's the reason, obviously, Lauren just reacted like she did then, is because it's still very, as we've said at the beginning of this episode, it's very raw still.
Raw.
Like, because even now we've come away from it, and we've still got to wait like 4 weeks for us entirety, even though we've pretty much been given as results up until the last 3 exams that we've done. We already know what we've got in the other ones, so it's just a case of we're actually only waiting for the last ones to know as a total what we've got. But still now, even in that 2 weeks that we've had, to come away from it and our thought processes have kind of changed. It's sort of like, do you know what? I just need to forget about it. I just want to forget about it. And that's all we've done for 2 weeks. And now we've started talking about it. We're going to get annoyed at stuff because there's still things that logically do not make sense. And it was systematically flawed the way it was run, the biology, in my opinion. There were so many ways it could have been balanced to be, and not just for us as the students, it could have been made a lot easier for the lecturers to teach this shit if they just took on board the feedback of the people who were actually learning. But it were very, no, we're not going to listen. We're just going to do it this way.
Until they did it exactly the way we said, 3 months later.
Yeah.
Let's bring about another reaction. So they... I remember it going off in the WhatsApp group because we had a chat with our biology teacher who had said, no, whatever it was what we were asking for was absolutely categorically not an option. And I can't remember specifically what it was, but I remember we were talking in the group and we were saying, this is completely thought out. We have explained it in every possible way. It's completely balanced. It's no detriment to them. The only other way is a detriment to us. And they're happy to do that, and clearly, whatever. And then, so the demoralising, to be fair, the disheartening on the group of us, on the bubble of us, was tough at that point because we didn't feel heard and we didn't feel listened to. And that was when we really started to learn that support from lecturers and teachers and the college itself wasn't there, and we were relying on each other.
Yeah.
More than our tutors and the people who were paying for the service. Separate issue, I guess. But what really stuck out was then 3 or 4 months later when that question arose again, and we kept a bit more quiet because we figured that that's just absolutely categorically not an option. You've told us so. And then they did it. Yeah. And then they flagged it as their idea, and we were like,
so what?
Again, it went off in the WhatsApp group. Didn't we say this 3-4 months ago? People are coming at it with screenshots. We had receipts. For this, and we had absolutely. And there's one girl in particular. Her name was Hannah, who had gone in one discussion quite strongly with her opinion, and not forcefully in any way, shape, or form. Just was explaining it fully and articulately, and she was fantastic. And she was really quite upset that she hadn't been heard and listened to as a 20-some-year-old lady, that she hadn't been listened to as an actual adult who can make a decision and have an opinion. She was just disregarded. For them then to bring it in brought about that reaction all over again. And that was, I think, for me anyway, that brought about a good whack of the stress I felt, the fact that I felt like I had no say. And I'm not 16 anymore. I'm not 17 anymore. I have the ability at 20-some years old. I'm nearly 29. What am I saying that for? 29 years old. What the fuck?
Just 20-some, mate. Just 20-some.
Just 20-some. I'm 20-some. I'm trying not to put myself down. 23.
I'm 19-some. It'll be fine.
Yeah. 19 plus 20. But, no, at 29 years old, I can make some form of balanced judgment, a form of balanced opinion of my own. And you could tell the college was definitely more focused on 16, 17-year-olds doing their A-levels than 20 and 30 and even 14, 50-year-olds doing the access course, because there wasn't the understanding that we were peers at any point, because there are people in our group who are actually older than some of our tutors, and certainly quite a few who are a similar sort of age. It was no.
Oh wait, Lauren, you've gone again. So yeah, during this moment, those people listening in, we're having technical issues at the moment, so I'll just run this advert for those people that's new to the channel. Check us out, Jukebox Jax. We're currently running a podcast where we talk about all things mental health, but this episode's actually a special episode where we will be actually talking about the Access course that we've done along the way. But we'll also be moving into other content along the way. In addition, it's looking like my colleague has jumped back into the discussion once again. She's back.
Thought I'd do it twice. I thought to pass everybody else.
Yeah, why not? When you come off, you'll see there's a certain picture that I just took of you while you froze. Sent it through to you.
Oh, I bet that's funny. Hang on, actually look now. I look like I've had enough. Fuck this.
Yeah. I think you said it quite well actually in how you just detailed it. I think for me, how I felt is just, I guess I felt like they just wanted to close the door on us. It was just sort of like, do you know what? I'm not saying this is how the college felt, but it's how I was made to feel, and that's just as valid as what the reality might have actually been.
For sure.
That they were that focused on the A-level students, like you said, and the other people, that when we, in a sense, were doing their job for them by giving them valid avenues for us to go down to make it less impactful on our studies and less impactful on them as tutors to teach us the content. It were never a case of that. At one point, there were never like once that they actually said, you know what, that's a good idea because we did that in semester one and it worked. So we'll go to board and say that because we agree with you. There were no adult conversations in that manner. It was just a case of no, they've just said no. And it's like, but have you even brought it up to them? Have you?
Yeah.
You're saying you have, but now you're saying you've not actually got a meeting until 2 weeks' time. So
yeah. And then the other side, and I don't know if you recall this, because it was towards the very end. One of our teachers, who kind of acted like a form tutor effectively, she went to the exam board and specifically asked that we were brought back into college, that we, out of everybody, should be a high priority for being brought back. Now, no discussion or question had been asked of us about whether we felt that way. It was just assumed that's how we felt. That's the absolute opposite of how we felt, because at the first time, we had what we felt was some sort of stability, and we knew our biology, because biology was the big thing that we were struggling with. Our biology teacher, we'd adjusted to online, and he was being a bit more forceful with us in making us answer, making sure we'd done homework, all of that sort of stuff that we needed to do, make sure we had cameras on, things like that. But they then just assumed that, they're going to need to go in. Well, no, we don't need to go in because we found a happy medium now. But nobody asked that question. And that was what made me feel, as you've so rightly said, just disregarded as having an opinion, as having thought on it. They just thought, oh yeah, this will be what they want. Well, no, we were whinging about not being face to face. As in, we had this extra adjustment now, so we're adjusting to a new teacher, and then we're adjusting to online, and we're struggling with that, was what we were voicing. Yeah. But that was also back in like November, December time, not now in April.
I think it's completely right. And in addition to, obviously, to the valid points you've just said then, I think our level of trust had gone in that point in both college, and not necessarily on like as in it was their fault as in the lecturers, but the lecturers, obviously they're part of the process. They worked in college. They might have had their own frustrations, disagreed with their own heads of year and stuff, but that's for them to deal with as people, as individuals. I think we reached a culmination where our level of trust had just gone, and we just collectively, through our support bubble on WhatsApp, through talking to each other, we all had the same mindset. We're like, do you know what? We've now found his own stride. We found his own coping mechanism where we're bringing our stress levels down, and we're finding the information's finally going in. So we kind of don't care what college are saying. This is what we're doing. We before we even went back for the final, what would have been the final part of term. College had not even said anything at this point. We'd already made the collective decision. None of us were going in. We're not going in.
Yeah.
We're not going on campus because it's been too long now. What's the point in going in campus just to tick boxes for college to say, yes, we've got students return and stuff. It's like, no. It now works for us. So we're going to successfully get our grades by sticking to what we've now been doing. You change it.
And to what we now understand and what we're now happy with and content with.
Exactly.
What we're able to do. It was just all tough, wasn't it, when you think back on it? I don't know how we got through it, man.
There's so much stuff.
Aside from supporting each other.
There's so much stuff that's flying through my head.
We all responded in very different ways.
Yeah.
So some of us would, like under stress, I go quiet.
Yeah.
And don't ask for support. Which I'm sure you noticed.
Yeah.
I don't ask for support because some people are very, very loud when they need help, and that is great.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But I just have this thing where I feel like I'm going to reach out and ask for help. People are going to be like, all right, attention seeker. And I know I never think about other people. And I'm always like, oh my God, let me help you. But I just feel like about myself. It's probably
spotlight syndrome.
An issue I need to deal with. But
it's spotlight syndrome. That's what it is.
Maybe.
It's
I'm
exactly
Google that in a bit.
So literally last episode, I think it was, when I was talking to Felix, there's within society, I'm not even sure which psychologist said it. So the spotlight syndrome, like I said before, the slight technical issue. Naturally, I think it's Freud, but it's probably not. But some psychologist had said, and it carries over into mental health because Felix knew what I was talking about. Spotlight syndrome is where people go through life and the actions or inactions are directly influenced by the facts of, now, if you think about people with social anxiety, even those people that actually actively enjoy attention, it's because it all fundamentally comes down to the fact that people go through life thinking there's a spotlight shining on them. Like if they're going out in town, everybody's looking at me. Or you get the other flip side, you get like the Paul brothers where they're sort of like, fuck yeah, everybody's looking at me. But what people don't realize is every individual in life thinks they've got their own spotlight on them. So nobody's actually looking at anybody else's spotlight. They're not looking at anybody else. They're just looking at themselves and dealing with their own thing. And that's what it means by the spotlight effect. So when you were saying about you don't want to reach out sometimes and say, oh, I'm struggling to understand this academically, could you teach it to me? But you don't want to reach out because you're like, oh, she's attention seeking, she's trying to hog, you know, the academic information that's coming and stuff.
She's taking the mick.
That's something I used to fear. Everybody else is sat there thinking, no, same
she's
thing.
Fucking shit at her. Yeah. I haven't got a clue what she's doing. What's she doing here? That's what I was fearful of. And even things like, I mean, a family bereavement while I was doing the course. I mean, after that, I went very quiet because dealing with that, obviously, going through the motions with that, we still are now. But it's a situation, and there's somebody else in the group who also very, very recently had a bereavement, unfortunately, and she was able to, and it did make me reflect on my response to that situation where I only told you, I think I only told you because I think you were, did you message me about something else? I'd messaged you in absolute gobbledygook being like, look, I'm not in. Can you tell them? And it just didn't even make sense sentences that I was saying.
And I knew within the first couple of words that's like, you know, when you start scanning it as you're reading it, I knew before I got to end. Well, anyway. Yeah, before I got to end of it, I just knew I was like, it's not good. It's gone that way, and it was tough for everybody during that, especially what's gone off like COVID.
It's just different people's reactions throughout, and that's just a prime example. I go very quiet into me shell, and I have to deal with it, and I have to pick it apart in myself first, and then I can talk about it like I am now. But on the day, I sat on the stairs and I just stared into space for a while and didn't really know what to do. And then my wonderful husband, bless him, was just like, do you think maybe you should tell someone? And I was like, oh yeah, I should really tell college, shouldn't I? Because I've just come out of somebody's lesson. was just like, and just sat on the middle of the stairs. You should tell someone. So I was like, oh yeah. So I messaged. I had 2 tutors that were due to have the afternoon, and you for some reason, and it was all gobbledygook when you look back on it now. And there's other side of that where people are able to go, look, guys, this has happened.
Yeah.
I'm feeling this, that, the other way about it. And that was the difference between us kind of throughout. The undercurrent with all of our different reactions to stressors and to triggers and to really quite arduous times were that we all supported each other in a very similar way. We were all there to reassure each other, whether we were outspoken, whether we were introverted, whether we were extroverted, whatever kind of person we were always there to reassure each other that you will get through this, you can do this, and you are going to be okay. Because at some point we all felt the same way.
We definitely did.
And we weren't going to be okay because it was tough. I think the tough thing is I can't recommend it enough to do the Access course, because if it's anything, it's character building.
this is it, and this is what we're going to lead on to with his next part, that because it were important for people, because I think if we came into this review we were just selling the positives, people were like, really? I mean, I've heard it's quite difficult at best times, and you've gone through like a pandemic period and you're still just saying all good things. No, everybody like me, if I were coming into it and I'd have been watching someone else's review, I'd want them to be perfectly honest what the real struggles were. So I'm more mentally equipped, ready to deal with them things. Nobody could have prepared us, because it's something is happening. We're living literally through a moment in history that no one's gone through in our lifetime before us. Grandparents and such, they have a better grasp and stuff, but us, no, we didn't like. So it's hard to plan for stuff like that, but it is important to obviously get the negatives out of the way and the challenges that we did face. But with every negative, there's positives that come from it, and I've always believed that. I've always believed that any adversary that people face, it's exactly like you said. It's character building. It builds you into a better version of yourself. It better equips you. Like I think I'd have been excited anyway, like with the idea of going in to my first year in September. But is it weird to kind of say that you're kind of going into it now with a bit of a swag? Like, I've got this shit.
I can fucking take anything now.
I have got this shit.
Throw it all at me.
Yeah.
I can take it all.
No,
I'm with you. With you. I feel so much more excited and prepared for it, because nothing can be worse. Nothing can be harder. Nothing can be as unprecedented, I hope to God, as this year has been. Because it was a lot of issues in a short space of time, not really being taken as seriously as you should have done at points, to then get through it and to be on the other side of it makes you think, if I can do this,
exactly,
I can get through, and I can be a damn good nurse at the end of this, because if I've carried on with this year, how determined must I be? Because my need to do this and my urge to do this and to become a nurse surpasses the difficulty that Access course brought, because this is what I'm here to do and this is what I'm destined to do. So I think whenever you've got that mindset of, this is it, this is me, this is my career, here I am, here I'm ready to go, you'll get through it. You'll get through anything that anybody throws at you. You have it in you, because there's nothing I think that people get thrown at them on the general that they can't handle. If they need to, want to, have the urge to, enough. But it's tough. It can be really tough. And I'm hoping that uni's going to be a little easier.
You know how I release clips on each episode? That right there, I had fucking goosebumps throughout. That's going to be a clip. It's going to be one of the clips, like, but it's so true. Like, I jest with all my guests when they come out with things, that are really empowering like that. But they know why I'm jesting, because it's when things are so effortless and they just come out like that. It's literally just like poetry. It just comes out, but it's so potent, and people, you can, even when you're saying the words, you can see loads of people just sat there going, fuck yeah. You're like, yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah.
That from Gerard, he'll just be like, well, there's my cats again.
Yeah, so let me just lean back so you can see my cats behind me. Is this sufficient sight? Got a new one.
We love you, Gerard, really. We'll love you, really, mate.
We do. We had some cats.
So I'll quickly condense it so we don't go backwards, because we're on the right path here. We're heading in the right direction. We're not.
Finally.
We're doing a Hoover stank. We're going in the same direction. We're all right. So so to give people a crash course. So we started the access course in September. I had a misconception through people around me that you've got plenty of time until you apply to university. Not true.
No.
So literally, we started in September and we were told within first week, oh, FYI, from October, you're going to start applying to uni. We're like, what?
The thing is, we started 2 weeks late anyway, don't forget. You're supposed to start, I think, on the 2nd.
Yeah.
No, it must have been the 7th, because we started eventually on the 21st.
Yes, we did.
So we started 2 weeks later anyway. And we came in at the end of September and they said, right, beginning of October, we're going to start our personal statements. And we were like, that's in a week. What are you saying?
Yeah.
Sorry. What's this? And we had to start, and then ideally wanted them done by the end of October. So that was a shock, because I thought from when I did it at sixth form that you had until kind of Christmas time.
Yeah.
I thought it was like the Oxbridges and the medicine.
Yeah.
That went in like October.
Yeah.
And you had up until kind of Christmas time. So I thought, right, November time, we'll start looking at that, something like that. But to have it done by the end of October was a shock.
It was
not a shock I was expecting to have, because it was so quick. It was literally the following week. We were like an introductory week. We were on the 3rd floor of the building, so wearing a mask up there, you're blowing. You're like sucking your mask into your face, trying to breathe.
Because nobody wanted to be that person to get in lift, even though all lecturers did it.
You can't. It cannot possibly be.
I literally saw all lecturers getting into it.
Well, I thought my absolute luck will be somebody in a wheelchair or something like that will call for the lift while I'm in it, and if it comes back down, I'm just going to want to shoot myself. So I'm like, do you know what? Just blow out your ass for a bit, get up them stairs. So I'd got up them stairs, and we've been there for like the first week. We've just met each other. We've learned about this seating plan, because apparently we were 13. Had our seating plan. We had the same seats as well.
Yeah, we did. Not allowed to move.
Same seats.
I got told off. I got told off once.
We couldn't get up and move around without our masks on. Even went to get a drink or anything like that. That was, to then be told, I think it was the following week, we were told, right, next week, beginning of October, you're starting your personal statements. And we just didn't feel like it was any time soon that we were going to be doing that. We were going to be facing the actual applications. And then people were like, hang on, where do I actually want to go? I've not really thought yet.
Because I thought I'd have
some
time.
Idea.
Yeah.
I thought I'd kind of get me teeth into this a little bit for kind of 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks, get my teeth into it, find myself with it, and then I'll start looking at that in a bit more detail. But no, it was very much all at once. And then which was a good thing, I suppose, but it forced us to.
Yeah, it kind of snowballed from there, because bearing in mind those people listening in and watching, when you start the process of obviously applying to uni, don't forget, I mean, some people do that without doing an access course, but we were doing assignments and such, adjusting to all that, learning how to Harvard reference for the first time and things like that. We were doing all these things on top of having to write a personal statement. And there's some people that have genuinely got an outset of, well, I don't work in, like people like me, I don't work in the field or the profession that I'm wanting to go into. So how am I supposed to sell myself to university to say I am a good person to be on this degree over somebody else that's possibly working? All sorts of questions like that are difficult. And if anybody takes anything out of this episode, things like that, don't worry about. If just one person's circumstance isn't held against them compared to somebody else's. Every single person's circumstances holds nothing but opportunities for that individual. It doesn't matter if your circumstances are different to someone else's. everybody will have an opportunity. If it's an adult learner, your time management alone, the fact they're balancing full-time work around it, holds just as much credence as a person that's working part-time as a student, and they're not looked at any differently. So if that's one of your precursors for not going down the avenue, don't even listen to yourself. Really don't.
There are always applicable life skills, whether you are 17 and applying, or whatever your home life has been like, whatever part-time retail work, whatever, patience, confidence, those basic things that you build up as part of your personality, the compassion, the care, whatever it is that you have within you will undoubtedly be something that can be applied, whether it's to nursing, whether it's to anything else. To be fair, adult learner or not, there's always applicable life skills that you can sell, and that is what they were looking for more than anything else. I mean, I work within the NHS, and yet they didn't want me to focus so much on that and more on me and why I wanted to do and where my passion actually came from and what I thought about me would make me a good nurse, and why I thought these poor bastards are going to have to put up with me. All the best.
So literally, then once you've done like your personal statement and things like that, then it's a case of you do it all online, but you've got these categories where you just basically fill in other questionnaire type questions, about where you live, blah blah blah, your job. Just so you've got basically everything they need to know as a candidate base, and then from there you need to select what course you're wanting to do and what potential universities. So then from there, universities will get back to you. They'll either say no. Who knows them reasons why they already say no from outset, but some of them do. And then other ones will arrange an interview. At an interview, you'll be told yes or no. In some cases, you're given a second interview, I've heard as well. And then from there, if they like what they hear, then they'll send you a conditional offer. Your conditional offer is generally the only one condition is you just need to meet the requirements of the access course to get onto your thingy.
I have one with quite a few conditions. Firstly, you can apply, I think, to one university for a lower fee. I think it's like £7 or £8 difference. It was like 21, £23, something like that. And it was to apply via UCAS to 5 universities. Now, I have chosen York as my firm choice. Now, they want from me, I mean, everybody for nursing is looking for a clear, enhanced DBS check, an occupational health check, of course, it comes back satisfactory as well. But what York have asked for is my GCSE certificates, my A-level certificates, me to achieve a certain amount, I think it's 30 distinctions I needed to get, and a satisfactory work reference, which isn't something I expected at all, because the certificates, okay, right, I hear you, it's quite a while ago, so I've had to pay for new ones, but it's my own personal beef for not keeping them. But the satisfactory work reference, I was really surprised, because I thought there's not a stupid amount of detail in it anyway. Work have sent it off and they've come back and said it's fine, thank God. But from what I understand, they detail things like disciplinaries, sickness, that sort of stuff, just to make sure you're not, off every 10 minutes with, I don't know, diarrhea and vomiting every week and you're supposed to be working. Do you know what I mean? I think it's more to check that sort of thing, but it's not something I expected. So some of them will come to you with strange things.
I think,
but equally, I don't know whether that came to me based on the fact that I work in the NHS already, or whether that's completely unrelated and they ask everybody. I think there will be part of it. I know Donna originally, when I had conversations with Donna, because obviously we had the one-to-one sessions where she asked for updates with course, but then she was also asking you about UCAS progress and stuff. And I'd said to her in one of them, and I was talking about Bradford, and she'd said, "Oh, what's the entry requirements for a conditional offer?" And I'd said, obviously the progression scheme. I says, but the only thing they want in, apart from your normal DBS checks and things like that, which working in security industry and facilities management company, I have them done as part of having a security license anyway, DBS checks. But apart from them, it's the only thing they want is a record of my key skills level 2 numeracy in obviously on top of the GCSE.
They just want a photocopy of that. That's all they want.
Yeah.
But then I think it was Sheffield. Yeah, Sheffield. Very similar, minus the NHS specific things. So that's what led me then to think, when you just said that, then that maybe it's because of the field that you're working in at the minute.
Yeah.
So it might be because of that.
Yeah, you can put the DBS and the occupational health definitely down to safety, of course, for yourself and for everybody else.
Yeah.
And that is absolutely appropriate when you're going into placements and things that you're going to be. But it was just surprising because it can ask for, and I know they're not huge things by any stretch, and so long as you're not taking a piss at work or anything like that, you should be fine.
Yeah.
But as long as you're a law-abiding citizen, you'll probably be fine.
We won't go that far.
Question mark over you for that one.
Yeah.
But so long as you are kind of within the remit so acceptable, you'll probably be fine. They're not asking for anything completely out of the blue, completely unrelated, but there are different little nuanced things that each one will ask for. And so I had 2 unis out of the 5 I interviewed for. There was only 2 who did a maths test with me. The other 3 weren't interested in that, were more interested in me. Some of them did kind of direct questions where you can kind of see what the right or the wrong answers are. Yeah. And then there was others that were quite difficult, and I'm sure you probably had some of these as well, where they'd ask you a question: if you were in this situation, what would you do? And I remember one of them was, if your neighbour had given you their dog while they went on a once-in-a-lifetime trip for, a month or whatever, and the dog became very unwell and the dog passed away, what would you do? Would you ring them and tell them so they can make the appropriate decision, or would you wait until they got back and tell them then? And it's just to work out, I think, if you are their type of person and you're going to fit in with the course that they are teaching, how they are teaching, or if maybe you're not a great fit for each other, and it's less of a right and wrong. And I really liked that. Really liked that kind of, if you know I'm right for you, then I know you're right for me, with that sort of answer.
Definitely.
So I went with I would ring them and tell them and ruin their holiday. Not because I'm jealous.
I'd go for the same one. I mean,
I thought communication. You've just got to communicate with people, and it's all you can do. Be straight up. Imagine coming home after 2 weeks and being like, "Oh, your dog's dead." They'd be like, could you not have rung me and let me know? No.
Yeah.
So you've got to communicate. You've got to. And going into career we are, I think you've got to talk to people.
That's another, obviously, where it was different for us, obviously, because we didn't have, like most university applications, you do them in person. We didn't have any of that this year. We did them online.
No.
But I think
nerve-wracking though, waiting for that call on it.
I think they were really, really tailored well, though, from my experience. Like the Bradford one, like it were brilliant. I had one of the guys who he works in the mental health sector, but he works in community outreach, but he also teaches. And I think he said that he'd been in the mental health field now for 20 plus years.
Wow.
So he was the main person that I was interviewing with, but then he introduced who I thought was his colleague. It turns out it's not. She's actually still under care, under mental health conditions. She's an actual outpatient, but he wanted to get her involved because he wanted to see how she adapted to me and how, more importantly, her thoughts of me as somebody who's actually in that sector as a patient and interacts with multiple nurses, and wanted to see if I'd be the right candidate, in terms of empathy. Which,
so long as obviously your outpatient wants to, I think that's a great way to do it.
Which I don't think.
And how confidence boosting for you.
Yeah, that's what I thought, from because they always say, don't they, that your interview will be about 15 minutes, but after 30 minutes, we were having to cut it to an end because we'd done the interview, but we were just all 3 of us were just talking about stuff, about life, everything. Well, you know what I'm like at best of times.
Really?
Yeah. But yeah, I just think if it were in normal times, that situation had never come about. It wouldn't have been done that way. She wouldn't have been there because they'd have followed the normal strict guidelines when interviewing. We're going to have this person, that's it. But they had to open stuff up, and think everything is obviously we're coming around to trying to somehow conclude the course in terms of an actual review. I think it all, from me now looking at it from the outset in terms of leading me to my degree path, everything's happened exactly how it should have, because it's all gone that way. As much as we've not hidden it, we've detailed the things that went wrong.
For sure. If
this, God forbid, were to happen again next year, lessons that need to be learned from the college standpoint, from the assessment bodies, they need to learn from it, and these things they need to take on board that we went through as people have gone through it. But there's so many positives from it, and that most definitely is one of them. The fact that the character building alone has shaped me far better to equip university life, especially when people like Caroline at Bradford highlighted things during webinars that I still didn't even take on board, because I've been so wrapped up in my own bubble and our situation of what's been going off, where she was sort of like, don't forget, there's going to be people, because there were a question that I asked where it was a sense of, at what point do we start with placements and stuff? This, rightfully so, they said they don't know until near that time because of COVID and such. But in terms of the academic writing side of things, when do you first start doing your essays and such? And she was like, don't forget, there's a lot of people coming in at university entry that's still never written an assignment since they were in school. So you're already going to be ahead of them, because you've got that experience from doing an access course. Because there's people coming in to do a degree that haven't done an access course. And obviously, as part of your access course, you taught how to Harvard reference. So you're already
how to note take. All that
your league's like apart at that point. So for the first transitional period, you're going to find yourself at time probably supporting those around you. And it was like, Jesus, I didn't even think of that, because I just assumed that spotlight effect again. Everybody's going through what I'm going through, kind of thing. So everybody must be in the same boat. And it's like, no, you're like, so what you have been through. And she was quite open about it. She was like, it's been a shit show for you guys, like, but you know what? It's better equipped you for university. Every one of you, even though you're all going into different fields, like, and even though not all of you are going to be coming to Bradford, like, you know what I mean? I'm so proud of everything that you have gone through to lead you to where you are, because you are the next generation of nursing staff that's going to help others.
That's a big thought. That's a big thing.
It is.
I think there are going to be, nervous ticks are back. That's a big thought, isn't it? Sure I feel about that. My nose has gone cold.
It's and that is the reality. Like, when I was having conversation on last episode with Felix and stuff, like, we never should forget that. I mean, I've said it to you throughout probably from September onwards, that we should always look back in that way, because even though the access course was as poorly managed as it was and stuff, these things are going to stay with us for 30, 40, 50 years, because
and
it
you
was
know
the start of our journey.
For sure. And it's like you said already, it's equipped you in a way that nothing else could have. So being 18 and starting this is very, very different to being 29 or 30 or whatever it might be and starting this. You are coming from a completely different mindset. But to have the skills that we do from the access course, I don't think should be understated. And I think if it had been better managed, yes, we'd have still had a very similar set of skills, like Liam and me. So I'll reword that. We still would have had a very similar set of skills, very peculiar set of skills. I don't know.
Winged it.
We still would have had the same outcome.
Yes.
By way of the skills that we had and what we'd obtained from it. The Harvard referencing, things like that. I couldn't have gone in and just learned that at uni level straight away. It's great for things like that. And even things like from the biology side, am I going to need to know about genes and genomes? Yes, I am. I am going to need to know about genes and alleles. I had not a clue about these things before this.
Yep.
And now they're just part of my vernacular. But you'll find yourself speaking to people and referring to these things and just assume that you know too. And you feel a bit of a tool when you do that, or I do anyway. Or when you refer to things like by its acronym and things like that, and people think,
they're like, what? Yeah, they're like, what?
They're like, yeah. And they just think you're an idiot. I'm just showing off because I want to be nice.
It's funny that you said it like that, because obviously I'm completely the same. There's certain things with biology that I'd struggle to get my head to grips with and stuff like that. And it was sort of like I'd get frustrated with it at times. Like I'm having to rack my brain, go through all this, as I kept saying, all this shit, and it's not even relevant for me. But then there'd be little snippets that were like when you talk about how how the body reacts to the chemicals released in medication and stuff for mental health and stuff. So then straight away my ears prick up and I'm like, right, I'm interested in that. But stuff,
but
other things
on on a psychosocial level, even when you're talking about SSRIs and stuff, are you talking about kind of uplifters, as it were?
Yeah.
You are that's directly linked to what you're going to do. Yep. You're going to be seeing people who need lifter-uppers, and you're going to already know that before you start. So then when you start discussing that on a more intimate level at university, you've already got the basis of that knowledge, and that's where this course has been fantastic, because it's taught me and you and everybody else in a way that I don't even think A-level could have, because like you say, Layla had done her A-levels reasonably recently, and there were things that she was lost on, and there were things that she was feeling overwhelmed by. So it's not the same as doing your AS and your A2 and quite, what's the word? Structured. Quite well managed.
Nothing that I'd ever associate with the Access course.
No, it's just management, and they are mitigating circumstances, and they're unprecedented circumstances that we've gone through.
They are.
But as we've already said, if you want to do it, there is a way. It is very accessible.
Yeah.
That wasn't meant to be a pun. Please don't take it as. But it is by way of funding, by way of it being close by. There's a couple close by to us. There's Leeds ones, there's Wakefield ones. It is doable, and it will make the world of difference when it comes to studying, because of what you've learned, because of the way you've learned. And if you have something like this, then you are a completely different character with a completely different level of patience and level of compassion for yourself, I think, because I've always been, and I don't know about you, but I've always been a perfectionist for myself, and I'm never quite good enough. So unless I'm getting 100 and everything, it's not enough. Unless I come out of this with distinctions and everything, it's not enough. I've not done it well enough. And I've learned to accept, okay, human biology I get, core biology I'm not so good with. So if I get a merit in that, that's okay. That's okay. And I think that has come from having to force myself through these unprecedented times to naturally just go, you have to let go of that stress. You have to leave it behind. You have to kind of compartmentalize it, whatever you need to do to move it away from yourself and not let it affect you. And with that comes some compassion and some patience for yourself, because I think that is needed when you're going through such a heavy course as well, and such an emotional course as nursing will always be.
Yeah, because there's literally, like you said, there's, because of the fields that we're going into, the mental strain that has on the nursing staff. So the fact that obviously you're adapting your own resiliency to deal with these things as and when they come up. So it's always important. And it's funny that you said it in that way when you obviously were just talking then, because I know at times I used to seem like this person that would just always pep talking everyone, like everybody would inbox me separately, or Amy and people like that, and I'd be sort of like, no, you can do it. You can do it. Like, look at it this way.
Maybe it's you that got us through.
No,
maybe it's you that actually brought about the compassion. No, you were
I
would
have been
always
lost
there
without you all, like, because she's all said the right thing when you needed to. Jodie used to say the most comical things when she never intended to, but it just used to work.
It's just so
and
naturally
she would
funny,
be like, that's exactly what I needed, Jodie, you're a legend. But that's why at times I was telling people when they were getting so worked up about where they were going. I know it was different for me because it flipped within a couple of months, and where I thought I would have been going my original choice to where I know for a fact I should have always been going, which is where I'm going now.
Yeah.
That's why I always kept saying to people, look, at the end of the day, don't overly stress yourself, because as long as you're doing the degree, it doesn't matter where you're doing the degree. Yeah, you might not have got, don't put too much pressure on yourself to try to get to the place you thought you should have been at. It just matters that you're doing the degree to get into the profession you want to get. It don't matter. And then that correlates with what you were saying, that sense of, yeah, obviously I want distinctions and everything, but as long as I get the credit scores that I need to get onto my degree, does it matter?
Yeah.
If it meant I chased a distinction, totally fluffed me exam because I were over-analysing every question and then didn't even end up passing it, all because I was striving to get 100 marks, but now I've missed out on a degree, it wouldn't have been worth it. So you're so right what you were saying. So right.
Yeah. See, I went kind of different way to you. So I had York in my mind initially, and I was completely swayed by Leeds during, because it just seemed to be this like mythical land that nobody could get into, and they really wanted a lot from you, and I was like, that sounds like my cup of tea to just push myself to that standard.
Difficult, impossible, I am sold.
Get me there, stress me out. So I was all over that. And do you know what, I did get offered a place, and they wanted very similar to York. I think exactly the same, to be fair. Yet, to be fair, it's the integrated masters thing that I'm doing at York anyway, and that's the reason. But I'm driving around Leeds, and I drive around York, and I just went to York, and it just feels, and you'll know from speaking to people at Bradford, when I was in York, it just felt like this is where I need to be, and I can't explain it. It was in my tummy, it was in my gut. This is where I need to be. This is it. This is where I am.
This is home.
Yeah, it was so strange, and yet, logistics wise, it's further away than Leeds and all of that sort of stuff. But it never felt right. Driving around Leeds was just like, this isn't me.
Yeah, this
isn't mine. And like I say, going to York it felt familiar. It felt homely. It just felt like, this is where I'm going to be. And like you doing kind of the online webinars and stuff, I'd strongly recommend anybody who's listening does them. Do join in. Do see what they've got to say. Even if you don't want to kind of turn your screen on or really say anything and just listen to other people talking, it'll do the world good, because you'll realise there are questions that you didn't realise you wanted the answers to.
Most definitely.
Other people will ask, and you'll go, shit, I want to know that. Actually, please answer that. Or people will start talking in the chat and start asking questions, and you'll be like, answer that one next. Fingers crossed, that's the next one. And you'll get really excited about it.
Yeah.
And if you don't get excited about it, that's okay. And maybe that one's not for you.
Yes.
But somebody asked, I really want to go into prison, right? Well, not me personally. Prison nurse. Point that out.
Disclaimer.
Not going to pass that DBS check, but I got the offer. I want to really go into prison nursing. And so I asked that question. And then there's a couple of other people afterwards who said, that's really interesting. I didn't even know that we went into kind of custody suites and things like that as part of placements. It's a small amount of hours, but God, I'm looking forward to it. Being 5 foot, why would I not?
Totally.
These absolute bruises. Come here, let me look after you. I'll get you in line, one or the other. But I'm really, really looking forward to that. And again, there's a couple of other people then who were saying that. And much the same. There are things I hadn't even thought of that people were asking about. Kind of, have you got a preference or a recommendation on a brand of shoe for placement? And I'm like, I'm going to need a really comfy shoe. I'm going to be stood up for like 8, 10, 12 hours at a time. How did I not think, shit, I'm going to need a comfy shoe?
Exactly.
But it can be really informal, and York was, and I'm sure Bradford was as well, and friendly and welcome and opening. So I'd strongly, strongly recommend any virtual open days, if it is still virtual at that point, or physical open days. I know they can be a bit daunting, particularly if you do struggle with any sort of anxiety or anything like that. They can be really quite daunting days. If you can do any sort of listening to recordings or anything like that, even, couldn't recommend them enough, because they give you such a feel for the place and where you want to be, and the support that's available as well, because there is so much support at uni level that we know there isn't at Access course level.
I couldn't agree more. And you know, the funny thing that you touched on there as well, that's one thing, because I'm always looking at where things are ideal, there's always opportunities to make things better. And that's the one
sure.
thing that's coming out of this now when we talk about uni application process, open days, people suffering with social anxiety, not going on campus. We now know it's doable for them to just jump on a webinar, the same webinar that everyone's there, just record it, just live stream it on Teams. We've done it. We've done it all this year, and it's hugely successful. I'd be interested to know how many people during this pandemic period have actually gone on to do degrees. I actually think there's going to be an increase compared to normal.
I think in nursing there will be, because I think there's been put an extra, I mean, we've always valued nurses as absolute in all their forms and in all the specialties as absolute. I mean, they're just the backbone. They're the absolute backbone of the NHS. And you can tell me about doctors and everything all you want, but for me, it's always been nurses. Whenever you've been uncomfortable, who is it that comforts you? It's always a nurse. Whenever you're feeling low or sad, it's the nurses who are there to help you. If you're confused or you're uncertain, they're there to guide you. I remember giving birth to my little one, and I remember the midwives' names and faces. Now, they won't remember me because I'm one of thousands of women that they've seen. But I remember the names, I remember the faces, I remember how they held my hand when I was crying and getting all worked up. And it stays with you. And that's nurses and that's midwives, and that personality is the difference. And yet there's been put even higher of value, I think, on our nurses and our midwives throughout this. Definitely. Because the sheer work and the trauma that they've gone through doing everything they have, I just think there must be more people going into nursing after this. There must be.
There's gotta be. There's gotta be.
Because people just go, do you know what, actually, I want to do that. I want to be part of that workforce. I want to be part of that massive nationwide team. I want to be part of that. And I've got an urge I didn't realise I had to be that and to do that. To be fair, I'd been looking for a career from about the age of, 22? And the thing I always knew I needed was to continue learning. I need to continue learning. I need things to change. But I also work well in a chaotic environment, which is quite strange. But when things aren't right, I like to know what I'm doing in a chaotic environment and high stress environment. And how I never realised that healthcare was that all over, I don't know. And it just kind of came to me one day, and like I say, it's gone from there. And that's why, much the same as you feel like this is what I need to do now. This is my next steps in my actual life now. And the other thing is, of course, and I don't know whether you ever get this, but my little one's 3, so she's just started learning about the fact that I'm at school and she goes to nursery and all that sort of stuff. And she asked her dad when she was in the bath the other day, "What does mummy do at school?" He said, "Mummy's going to be a nurse and mummy's going to make people feel better." And when she repeated that back to me, and I don't know if there's going to be many kind of parent, adult learners watching, the feeling, I'm nearly in tears thinking about it. But making your kids proud to that extent.
Totally.
Was just, obviously it wasn't a reason I did it, but it's been such a heartwarming and wonderful benefit. And so if anybody is thinking about it and you're a parent and you think, oh shit, childcare and all of that, it can be done. Unis can be flexible. They will work with you. There is support, financial support if you need it.
Exactly.
The support by way of helping you with that extra time. And the pride in them of you going back to school in your 20s and your 30s and your 40s, whenever it might be, and going, do you know what? This is what I should have been. This is what I should have been doing all along. It'll bring a whole different pride to you, to your family, to your little ones who then understand mummy's going to be a nurse or daddy's going to be a nurse and make people feel better. Oh, it's wonderful. Please do it for them. Not for yourself. Do it for your kids.
No, and it's very true. It's very true because obviously on the outset, people would be saying, obviously you're going into that field for you to be you and so. And it is, don't get us wrong, we're going in for that. But it means just as much to us as parents. I mean, us speaking as parents, there'll be other people that's got other reasons for doing it. Maybe it's just a partner or something like that. But to see the reaction on their face or the words that they say when you never even look at it, how it's going to be for them, what that's going to mean for them kind of thing. Yeah. That's kind of why I went down this avenue where I knew it was going to be from September till next September until I'm actually on the degree. But how can I how can I still effectively make a change and contribute along the way? So that's why I was like, well, I could do a podcast talking about mental health issues, illnesses, just allowing people, just someone to talk, put relatable content out there where people wouldn't necessarily think, oh, I wouldn't think they deal with, they're dealing with anything, or just allow people to have conversations and talk. And then it grew from there. And then I was sort of like, well, then I can document it, my actual nursing degree in a vlog and give back. And I can do a special episode on the podcast where we specifically give information back, because the underlying reason for all of it is I want to get more nursing staff out there. I want more people to go into the field, because we're totally aware of what's going off and stuff, and how many people are leaving profession. But those people day in, day out, help, deliver babies, who were there with people in the final breath and stuff, like they are the most important people in life. And it's a cliche. We say it that, like you said earlier, that you don't think them nursing staff will even remember who you are. You'll come back in 10 years' time and say you don't remember the face and name of every patient you dealt with. And I guarantee you will.
Particularly those big ones.
Yeah.
I mean, the big ones, the complicated ones, there'll be all sorts. Of the first time you've been on your own with someone in the last moment. They'll be the first person for you who you've managed to help in, like you and Felix talking about the first episode of Psychosis.
Yeah.
The first person you've managed to help be a little bit less scared.
Yep.
And it's just the tip of the iceberg by way of what you and your team and that person have got to deal with. But you get in there and there'll be these people that you remember throughout. I know there will. But I can't tell you how it felt for her to say, Mummy's going to be in there, so people feel better. But I know from applying for the NHS, is it called Learner Support Fund? So it's applying for...
Yes. You'll have to bear with me with some of this, because there's certain things you as a mother are entitled to that I'm not as a dad. So there'll be certain things that you'll be like, I don't know, there's like a
sauce for the frown.
Yeah, so basically what it is because obviously I share custody with my ex, the children on paper reside with her. Even though we share custody, there is no sharing custody legal stance. There's only one or other. So
I've got opinions on that.
Yeah, childcare related like funding that you get and stuff. And even though obviously I told you, do you get what I mean? There's certain things like that. Whereas the only thing I'm basically entitled to is my student finance loan, which I'll get as part of studying, and my NHS bursary. I'm not entitled to anything else. Whereas other people they're entitled to like there's a monetary for amount of childcare, for when you're paying for childcare around you working.
Well that's what I was going on
loan to, household income and things like that.
Yeah, so your student loan obviously was means tested on I'm assuming everybody is. And the learner support loan, whatever it's called, bursary, there are different levels of that. So there is like a $5,000 that kind of everybody training as a nurse gets, and it isn't means tested. And then there are additions onto that, such as £1,000 for a certain mental health nurse to be. There are then additions, so in areas of poor recruitment and retention of nurses of any variety, but specifically mental health nurses, because we're so low on them, and that's a conversation for a different time. But then learning disability nurses are another prime example.
Yes.
Podiatrists, people like that, who there aren't many going into that area, and so there is extra funding available for them. Of course, anybody who is a parent looking towards potentially being a bit scared because of the childcare and funding and all that, it is there, the support is there, and you can and you should do it if you feel that it is in you to do it and to be it.
Yeah.
If you want to, because I don't agree that a nurse is a job. To be fair, I think when you are a nurse, you become a nurse.
You are a nurse.
You don't just do it as a living.
Yeah.
You are a nurse through and through. And you just need the training to get there. If you think that's you and you are worried about the parent side of it, it can be done. Unis do have support. They have, I mean, like I say, financial and time. It's all there. But I know what hesitation it can be to say, I don't want to leave my children for that many hours, or I don't want to be going back full time if you just work part time like I do, for example. I don't want to be going back full time and on all of that. It can be done, and you're teaching your children a work ethic.
Yeah,
It's different to just kind of working your 9 to 5. I'm going and making myself better because I want to be better and I want to be the true me. It's a different level, so it can be done and it should be done.
It's that important message, like you're saying, of teaching that to your children, and not just in that sense of bringing them up, but it shapes every future relationship and every thought process that they're going to have. Whereas if they're brought up with examples around them of you can be anything you want to be, if you set your mind to it, you can do it. You shouldn't accept any less than what you know is your own worth and things like that. Then it sets them up for such a more happier life.
For sure.
So for me, it's always been important to give that example to my kids in that way, because and then there's no pressure for them to do anything else after that. It's just grow up, just being that, just believing in yourself. You can be whatever you want to be. If you want to then go and be a dustman, Josh, go for it. As long as you're enjoying it, like you crack on with it.
My little one is between wanting to be a nurse, like mummy, obviously, because she's 3 and being mummy is all we need to be right now. Being a nurse like mummy or being a bin man, she wants to. And if she can't be a bin man, she wants to be a man car. So that seems perfectly reasonable. And when we keep telling her you can be anything you want to be, having a bin man car wasn't really what we were going for.
Well, it's totally off subject, but people have learnt this completely with my podcast episodes. When we said bin man, bin man, it's just registered why I said bin man specifically. Say that again.
Should we have said bin person?
Bin man.
Should we?
No. Yeah. Oh no! Don't wake the wokies. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Wait for them in the comments.
Yeah. No. The bin man thing. The reason that jumped out at me was because one of the great, in my personal opinion, one of the greatest animated films ever, which was a precursor to all animated films now, is Toy Story. Without Toy Story, you had nothing. So you follow the path. You know the bin man.
Yes, it's
you know what that is? Yes, it is. I was just testing.
It's like skull.
Yep. And
he also has a high vis.
He thinks he's somebody. Yeah.
He does. He's got a god complex. He's got a high vis.
Yeah. I just thought, I knew you'd find that straight away. You'd be like, because
all over it.
I suppose that's kind of where I'm going with my thought process, where I'm talking about things like that, about you should always sort of like do, set examples for your kids and stuff like that, and looking kind of at the bigger picture, because people get lost along the way through life and stuff. But if you always kind of keep that underlying value to yourself of looking at the bigger picture, but allowing it just to branch off and do whatever it's doing, that very much is like, again, it's a film, but Toy Story's got that same pretense that it's a whole world mapping out around people in continuations of films, and people don't realize. So then when they're seeing that bin man, they're like, oh, look at him with headphones on, and then the little Easter egg is that's Sid. You do realize that's Sid. That is the same bastard kid. But it's him, but it's him, and it's all things like that I just think are brilliant when you talk about life, and people need to kind of take more attention to things like that, because none of us are guaranteed to be here for a long time, and you just kind of got to take it.
No, I think what, much on the same by way of continuation, I am a firm believer in everything happening at the right time for the right reason.
Definitely.
And I believe that when you go through hard times, it is so that when you get to the side of it, you appreciate the good on the other side of it, or because you needed to learn something from it.
Yes.
And I also believe in putting out what you want to get back. And it works in the same way by way of continuation, putting out positivity and putting out honesty. You've got to hope would encourage people to be positive and honest back to you. And I do believe in that whole karma thing where you want to put out negativity. I think you're going to find a rather course of negative events through your life.
Definitely.
But I find that does go the other way. And when you can change from that, and I'm using Sid as an example from Toy Story, quite a bastard little child.
Yeah.
And yet, you know, happy enough, content enough, confident enough to kind of banging about in the bins and listening to his music and stuff. If he's accepted, okay, right, I just want a more simple life. I'm not really talking to anybody. I'm not really doing that because I'm not really comfortable with that. Whatever his reason might have been for not really chatting with people and keeping himself to himself with headphones on, you've got to wonder if people change their lives that way, going from negative to, I'm learning this is a trigger, or I'm learning that I struggle with this. Until we work on that, or we avoid that, or whatever it might be, do we lead a life of more positivity and more of our own events that are due to us happening because we're putting that same philosophy lesson that this is, the same positivity out there? Do you know what I mean?
Totally. This is,
I'm feeling that. I'm feeling that with myself at the minute because I just think that we had to learn those lessons with the Access course. And I also...
These sort of... I've said it in every episode so far. And I didn't even realise it when coming into starting to do this podcast and stuff, that there is some selfish things I take out of this, of doing this whole process. And it's hearing so many like-minded people speak passionately and openly about things like that, and the way they articulate it. And I said it earlier on, I'm not even sure if it were part of the episode or if it's going to be one of the many outtakes, but you know, when someone's talking and you have the goosebump moments, like your goosebumps have goosebumps, and you kind of get a shiver and you're like, fuck, like they've literally taken the words out of my head and they're saying it. Like, that's exactly how I feel. And it's things like that, and it's the relatability and the content that everybody has in their own head. It just shows you that there's every opportunity for the human race as a whole to be a better version of itself. It's just
I hope there is. I really hope there is.
The choices that people make.
Yeah. And I think it has to be at the forefront of everything. Kindness and compassion for yourself and for others. Because if you're not giving kindness and compassion to yourself, you can't possibly give it to other people. If you're critical of yourself all the time, you're judging yourself all the time, you are naturally going to do it to other people. The other thing is, reconditioning is a thing I think that a lot of people do. Yeah. Well, no, a lot of people don't do, actually. I think it's a thing that's starting to become more. Yeah. So, you know, my late granddad, unfortunately, had some views that I strongly oppose by way of same-sex marriage. And so his view from his education was very different, of course, to my views now. And he never knew to recondition that and question that and go, actually, what problem does it actually bring to me? Yeah. If a man goes to bed at night with a man, or a man marries a man, or a woman marries, whatever it might be. And I think now, and I hope now, that there are more and more people actually going, hang on, why do we eat meat, for example? Why do we oppose same sex? Why are we so judgy about people who aren't born in the right gender? What, do you know what I mean? Yeah. Why are we judging these things? Why are we being so harsh to these people? And people are starting to approach with more kindness and less judgment. And I'm glad to see it, because I think we'll get there one day, but we might have knackered up the environment by then. So
yeah, we never will. We might be on moon by then or something like that. But
yeah, like in Wally, when living their little hobs in the of the moon, that'd be us.
It's true though, because I mean, we talk about it in everyday society. Like it was quite funny, obviously. I mean, you look at, for instance, I think there were a campaign not the mental health awareness week or month or anything like that, but it was the media that were pushing it, which were more surprising. But they were doing this whole be kind, which I got angry at straight away because I'm like, don't touch on territory that's taken. Don't take the be kind. That's mine. But they started doing that, and Piers Morgan kept banging on about it on GMB on the morning. 3 weeks solid. And then 3 weeks later, he totally forgets and just totally systematically starts mentally abusing Meghan Markle.
I knew this was going to be about Meghan because I'm completely with you. How
can he sit there and preach about being kind?
Went after her,
they just completely forgot about it. It's like
I remember.
Well, like how can they be so driven on that, but then on the flip side, then just completely forget and then just completely keep targeting like she's this, she's that. It's like, what are your negative outbursts? What are they even sort of like doing?
I think they come from insecurity. Right, this is my strong and firm belief. People who are bullies are sad.
Yes,
they're sad, and all you can do is offer patience and compassion and civility to them. I don't think you should be friends with them while ever they're like that. If they want to make a change themselves, I think you absolutely put your time into helping them. But I strongly and firmly, to my very core, believe people like Piers Morgan, who are prone to being bullies, are sad. You're sad somewhere, or you're insecure somewhere. There is an issue that you have got that you are not dealing with. And that is why you are kicking off at other people. You're taking it out on other people because you feel insecure. There are people in my life who have put me down with these little, not really kind of, they're not even a full-on like put down, but a little snide remark about something. And you think you're feeling low about something. That's why you've done this. And you've just got to distance yourself. All you can do until they're ready to get better.
I say it to my friends circle quite a lot. There's sometimes, whether it's friends, family, work colleagues, where there'll be a certain saying, a certain statement, a certain snide remark, but it says more about that person that's saying it than what it says about the person they're intending it to.
For sure.
Because and it's hard as well, because sometimes these things can really bite when they say them to you, and it can affect you. You have to turn away, you get a bit upset, but just take that second, just to take a breath, just dissect exactly what they just said, and then without smirking too much, just literally look at them and think, do you know what, that says a lot more about you as a person than it does about me. Because,
it brings me content to remember, and peace in myself to remember I don't have to accept that.
Yes.
I am choosing not to accept that. You can put that out into the world if that's what you want to do. I won't riposte, but what I will do is I will look at you and I will think differently of you.
Definitely.
Because of that.
Most definitely.
Because now I'm thinking, what is it about you that you're struggling with that makes you want to act out towards other people like that?
It was one of the first episodes I did, and I talked about that, how in the past, obviously it's all a learning process. Everybody's learning through life, and that's the whole point of life. If you don't every day wake up and try and be a better version of yourself than you were before, then what's point in any of us being here? And I take that into any friendship and relationships that I have around me. If it's not serving you the right purpose, any relationship, any friendship, then it doesn't need to be a part of your life. So you have to remove it.
Yeah.
Those people that, for me personally, that my nature, my compassionate and caring nature, I know through past experience, it's been a deficit to me in a certain way, and I still won't change it, because it was those that made that choice to be like that and take advantage of me as a person for their own gains.
Yep.
But they're far worse off now since I've cut them off. Like, you know what I mean? I'm still that decent person where I don't wish them any harm. I just don't allow them to be a part of my journey anymore, because they're bringing too much negativity towards where I'm headed. Because negative thoughts, negative words, it's a view of self-expression, but due to literally the pain that they're feeling inside by them getting them out, but it's not being vocalized in a positive way. It's not for a positive source. It's just literally to project that negative energy onto other people because they don't know how to deal with it themselves. But those people, is what I mean about too much.
This is what I mean about being there when they are willing to get better, because some people do get to that. And I think while ever you are learning to get better, like you said, fantastic, you're on the right path. You are going to change your mind through life. You are going to get better. You are going to look back at yourself and think, shit, how did I do that? Or say that? Or what the fuck was I thinking at points? However, it's right to move away from those people. It is right to not change who you are. Once you know who you are, it's right to stick with that and to go, do you know what? I am a caring, compassionate person. You've taken the piss out of that. You need to move away from me. I'm not changing who I am. I'm not becoming a dick because you've been a dick to me. Will I be distant with you? Yes. But will I always be civil? Yes. I'll never bring negativity to you.
Yeah.
I'll never talk about you negatively. No. But that's not always that easy to see.
No.
When you are a kind of compassionate person, because I don't know about you, but I've given too many chances to too many people who did absolutely not deserve them in the name of trying to be caring, and actually you realise at the time that you were using me to make yourself feel better.
Yeah, the crutch. Yeah, that's exactly
you
you've become the crutch for them, and do you know what?
It's when you move away and then you notice them slagging you off on Facebook, but you're like, thanks,
and it's like,
all
well, that's said it all. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Thanks.
It's so true, though. It's so true.
It is. It is. There are always going to be rubbish people, but I really do hope that we are moving towards a more compassionate society.
And do you know what?
I really do.
And it's, I think anybody listening to this, Caroline, any one of us lecturers, they'll be like, do you know what? This is why you guys are our next generation of nursing staff, because you've got so much optimism and hope for humanity in general, and that shows the caring, the nurturing side of your personality. That's how important it is to you. And you know what? It's there's the physical, things that we're going to help patients with, but not just for me with the mental health side, but you also, and the other, the other people within our bubble group going into different things. That amount of positivity and that mindset that they're passing on to the patients, it can only do good things. But all we have to do is everybody else that's listening to this, because there's a lot of people, I know from feedback that we get, there's a lot of people that aren't nursing staff, that aren't academics, but just listen to this because their words are, it makes them feel better about stuff that's going off. It gives them a little bit more to look forward to each day and stuff. So just carry that on in your relationships around you. If you've just got friends around you, just make sure you're sharing that positivity with them each day. Try and remove any negativity that's around them, that's obviously that's dragging them down. And just, if everybody did that, and it's the Elton John thing, it's the circle of life.
Yeah, absolutely. But not every day can you spread positivity. There are some days where it is harder to spread positivity, but that is no excuse to spread negativity.
Exactly.
You can say nothing, or you can be negative on those days, and to choose to say nothing is okay.
Of course.
And it is okay to say nothing if you don't know enough about a subject, if you are not feeling the right way. Sometimes it's just okay to say nothing and to just try and be kind and to live your life and let others live theirs. Because the thing I keep thinking to myself, and I think Facebook's like a prime example, I think it's terrible. You see people on there who would put these judgy comments on, and you're thinking to yourself, why? Why can you not just look at that and go, ooh, carry on? Yeah. If you have a moment of, ooh, just scroll on by. It literally, all it takes is,
it takes more effort to type the reply to argue with them than it does just to scroll your thumb a little bit more.
And then nowadays there are more and more people who are calling people out for that sort of trolling bullshit.
Yeah.
Who are going to go, there's no need to say something like that. This person's put this on for whatever. There's no reason to be judgmental like that. And then you end up in a bleeding Facebook argument and it's like 600 comments deep.
So then,
Why? Why could you not have just scrolled by
that's it,
and just said nothing?
Because the person sorry, I've got a little friend here who's like whizzing about in front of me. A little fly.
Having a funny turn.
Don't even know where we're going. Maybe I am.
Maybe.
Who knows? Maybe, or is it Joker said, we all go a little mad sometimes.
Oh, we do. Oh, we do. If you do an access course, guys, you will too.
Yeah. But I don't know. In closing, because the access course, I won't change it. I won't change it.
No.
Different times, maybe, but I still won't change any of it. I really won't. It's put us on to where we are, and I know we've rightfully so as well. We've expressed as negatives, just like we talked about. We've expressed them. We've dealt with them. It's good. It's good that we highlight them and just to give people awareness of what could potentially happen if we're still in this situation in years to come. But we've also touched on obviously how lecturers, college could have dealt with it better, but I would still like to share my appreciation for the lecturers. So I'll go in order. I'll go in order from Tuesday's lectures through to Thursday. I'll do it that way. It'll be easier.
Come on, let's see.
So first and foremost, Gerard. Gerard always made us smile on mornings, always made us engage on first lesson at day, even when we really didn't want to. Like
with his dad jokes.
Yeah, with his dad jokes. Yeah, he were brilliant. The course content that he taught for safeguarding, you can tell it's something he's very passionate about. And certainly for me, going into mental health nursing, there's aspects of the safeguarding that I didn't even know about because I'm not coming from that profession. But the way he taught it was very easy to understand. And I think that's very self-reflective, what I've just said there for you and for other people in group, because it speaks volumes with the qualifications, that we've got from him. In terms of his gradings, the fact that we all completely smashed that module, even when that stupid bloody poster.
That was awful. Mine looks atrocious.
Sorry, Gerard, and I think you should try and change it up or something, mate, because that did everybody's
because they all looked awful, and I'm sorry you had to look at them.
Yeah, because we all said we would have preferred to have written an 8,000-word essay rather than try to stick however many 100 words on that bloody poster. It was impossible.
Mine looked awful.
In addition to Gerard, obviously we've got Stephen. Now, Stephen was my point of contact when I first started the access course. He was the one who I dealt with throughout. So I actually thought he ran the course and then found out he didn't.
I thought he ran the course.
No, it turns out he's got, obviously, thingy above him who's in charge of the access course as a whole. Yeah.
Oh, I thought he was, and she was just coincidentally his boss.
No.
Oh well, there you go. You.
Yeah, he's the go. From what I understand, he's the go-to guy though. Like he's the go-to guy for everything access related. Hence the reason he's the poster model boy on Wakefield's Facebook page. If you go and if you go on it now and then obviously you type access at Wakefield College, it'll come up and he's giving like a video intro. In fact, I'll send you it. I only saw it earlier today. Again, I looked back to it. I was doing a bit of reminiscing coming into this episode. It's on Wakefield College's website, and there's a video about access, specifically about access to higher education courses. And it's got literally the video on, and it's got a freeze frame of Stephen, and it looks like he's sat on the grass hill. But he's not. He's sat on a bench or something. I don't know what it is. But then you click it. You see him, yeah? It's crazy, isn't it? So, yeah, Stephen, it's been brilliant. Thank you for all support that you have given us in terms of assignment. Obviously, you give us a lot more insight into things than you should have been able to. Although we did find out afterwards from speaking to other bubble groups that they got a lot more help off other lecturers than we actually got as a whole, which we'll not go into that. We'll just review that if our qualifications aren't as high as theirs, shall we say. And then in addition, we had Amy that obviously left us on long-term sick, as we said earlier on in the episode. Hope she's all right. We don't really know what went off there. Then we got Donna. Donna was kind of our oracle on everything. She dealt with our UCAS. She was a sounding board about everything that we had as frustrations. She generally was the person we went to, even if we received an email from Stephen about access course examinations and things. It were always Donna that took it in ear off of us.
Yeah, she did. Bless
You know,
her.
she never got rattled back at us. She just kind of like giggled and tried to make light of it. I understand now. At the time, it probably wasn't helpful, and none of us were sort of like, you're not listening to us, Donald. Like, we genuinely, yeah. But me personally, I can now look back and see why she was being like that, because it helps us to kind of like focus on what we needed to focus on and not the here and now, what we're going off. And then Abbas, what can I even say?
The babe of all babes. There's no words.
He literally...
The man just kept going in the face of all adversity. The respect I have.
Yeah.
Can't even tell you.
I could not agree more.
I really hope he watches this, because I'd love him to know just how much of a difference he made that course, because although it was the start of the rough time, I don't want him to be the figurehead for the rough time, because he absolutely wasn't. He worked so hard at trying to work out what it was that access students needed. He worked so hard. Anybody who goes to Wakefield College and who has a BAS as any sort of biology, I think he does like health and social care as well. Yeah. Chemistry, teacher. Just lucky. You're just lucky, because he's fantastic. He's fantastic.
He is literally one of them. He's one of them people, just same as all of them that's actually there. But I just want, just like Lauren said, I just want to specifically say, like, he really helped us through the most difficult time, really, for us. Yeah. In doing the entire course, and at times he dragged us through, and sometimes when we didn't want to be dragged as well, it was like, I can't deal with you. Dragged us through. Kicking and screaming. Can't deal with it, but he did it because he had every faith that we were going to be able to get through it. I still personally think that he's like Jesse Pinkman and he cooks crystal meth somewhere. You know what I'm saying, Abbas? You can laugh as much as you want. You can probably deny it. He's probably sat there looking at his wife now. It's not true, love. It's not true. I swear it's not true. Jackson's making it up as usual. Yeah. But no, literally, like, the course thing was that's just its own separate entity. But the lecturers, they did all they could, really. Because they've got people above them that were making the decisions. It's just, it's no different, is it, than anything else with workplace politics. You can't rock boat too much, otherwise you've not got a job, kind of thing. No. But we appreciate what they did for us, hand on heart. For sure. For sure. Yeah, I'm always going to look back at it without regret for doing it at Wakefield when I've come through my degree and when I'm actually practicing mental health nurse. I'll always look back on it and remember people like them lecturers, because they're just as much a part of the journey as moving on to the even more positive, you guys, my bubble buddy. Like, where I'd be without any of you guys, Jesus, I've no idea. Like, we're
totally relied on each other.
We've all been through so much. I don't think there's, sadly, as true as it is, I don't think there's one person in our group that didn't go through some sort of bereavement during the time. Literally, we have, through every single aspect that's gone of this course, we've all gone through the exact same things at varying different times. Yeah. But I'm not one of them people that ever turns around and just says things lightly anyway. But I know I'll be in contact with all you guys for decades. I just know it. You're my sort of people in that sense. We all finish each other's sentences. Well, some of us need a little bit more help with sentences. Some people make words up and shit as well. Just random words that make no sense. Jaxisms, as we call them.
They are definitely Jaxisms. Yeah. So that's you. That's no one else.
Yep. And then you've got people like Amy that sometimes just makes up entire sentences that have got no relevance to anything, but she kind of knows what she means. Yeah.
She's the sweetest, though.
She's brilliant. She cracks me up all the time. She really does. I could literally name drop everybody on course, like every single person, which obviously once this is all edited and obviously we put the episode out, I'll be sharing the video and obviously the Spotify episode on our bubble group as well. So everybody that's managed to stay tuning in and listening to this, we're not left this at this point on purpose. I've specifically done it at the end of this because I don't want Lauren to cry too much, to be fair.
That's the rest of it.
Yeah.
I am a crier, and once I start, I won't stop. Everything will set me off.
Yeah, I couldn't.
They've been a fab group. Couldn't have asked for better, could we?
It's been amazing. It really has. The way that everybody, just like you said earlier on in the episode, so true. The way that everybody supported each other. And none of us want, you know what I mean? None of us have wanted anything in return. It's just, that's just been our nature because we're all going into the professions we're going into. And because we're genuinely gelled as a group, there's not one person that didn't genuinely like someone in this group. Like, we all just got on from the start and it just flowed from there. And then it kind of feels like we've all known each other a lot longer than this since September to now. It's
to think that most of our relationship actually has been online.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy.
It's been through Zoom. The last time I saw you face to face must have been last year.
Yeah.
Which is just madness.
And that's crazy because it's...
And the next time I'll see you again is when we go out for drinks, when life is much closer to normal.
Yeah. That's going to be extremely messy for everybody and no doubt extremely emotional because everybody's going to get drunk, everyone's going to get overwhelmed. But it's...
I'll be first on that queue.
Yeah.
I'll be the first one crying into my cheesy chips.
I know I've said so many things to so many of you individually, but when I look back in like 30, 40 years down the line, I literally, I wouldn't want to change any of this beginning part because I were exactly with the same bubble of people that I should have always been with because it's helped me to shape me into the person I need to be for the start of first year degree. So I'd honestly be lost without you and everyone else in his group because you've all been there. You've been me constant throughout. You've helped me vent when I've needed to vent. And you've just literally given me the space to deal with stuff when I've needed to deal with stuff. You've all just provided the support that you needed. So you should all feel immensely appreciated because that's exactly what you are.
And we are, I'm speaking on behalf of everybody here, I know we are all very grateful for you, to be fair, because whenever any of us has been feeling low in any sort of way, whether it's been stress, confusion, like you say, family issues alongside all of that, you've always been the first one there with kind words for us. And like, you've given us the hug that we need through your support and through your reassurance that we will get through this and it will be okay. And that everybody is here to help. That was another thing with my whole, I don't want to ask for any attention or people think that I'm going on about myself. I found when I spoke to you that everybody is here if you need us. We're all here if you need us. And I knew you were right. And sometimes it's just what I needed to know that, you know what, I shouldn't feel so uncomfortable about reaching out and asking for a bit of help or a bit of assistance or whatever it might be. So you've absolutely been a backbone to us by way of particularly low times, and there is no greater job for you than a mental health nurse. You're just made for it, clearly. You're absolutely where you're absolutely destined to be, and I'm so glad that you're on that path now because you will. When I've got PTSD from being a nurse, I'll come to you. It'll be you I'm asking for. I'll be there.
Like I told you all on WhatsApp group, I'll check you all into Arkham Asylum like me. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
That's fine. I'll stay there.
I'll be hanging out with Harley Quinn in corner somewhere. It'll be fine.
Yeah, I bet you will. Cheeky boy.
Oh man, I suppose just like anything, I could talk to you forever, dude. You know, I could.
I know.
But I suppose I should let you get some sleep because I think, in all honesty, this might be our first episode that is actually going to be after released in 2 parts. Because I think, don't hold me to it, but I think we got cracking about 8 o'clock and it's now 10 past 11.
Oh, shit. But if you've got an hour and a half worth of outtakes, you probably do. To be fair,
I'm gonna stick it in 2 parts because it's exactly what we discussed it briefly coming into this, and it's exactly what I wanted to get out of it. It's a nice detail, blow by blow, what happens, from the process of thinking about going on access course to then the snowball effect of what happens, because without you even realizing it, you sit in your last exam and you're like, what the fuck? What you mean I've submitted stuff already? Where's this? When did that happen? Like, it's crazy. It becomes
short little things, though, doesn't it? Because when you're going through the course, you kind of, okay, right, I've got this time scale until I get this assignment in, and then this little gap until I got this assignment. Okay, right, I've got them in. And then you're waiting for your results, and that's like another month or 6 months or whatever it might be. You're then waiting for that one. And then next thing you've got like your next lot due in by that point.
And it just keeps going, doesn't it?
And it breaks it down. Yeah. So you're waiting kind of for the next thing each time. And you you end up like wishing your life away, really, kind of fingers crossed that feedback and results and stuff. But because it breaks it down to these much smaller segments, you then get to the end of it and you're like, is that it? Is it done? Did we do that?
You kind of pinch yourself. You're like, what, really? It's like honest, someone having me on.
It's the most anticlimactic end ever, because I just uploaded my final exam on to turn it in and was just sat there like, I guess that's college done then. It was just like, oh.
I can't remember.
This COVID world, though.
I'm pretty certain it was that one. Don't hold me to it. I mean, you'd have to go back through WhatsApp just to check, but I'm pretty certain it was this one that we're talking about, the last exam, where I just sat there after, and then I sent a message just saying, is anyone else just kind of sat here? I've been planning on going and making a cup of tea for 45 minutes. I'm still sat here staring at the screen.
Yeah, and you're like, I've turned it in and everything, but I've just realised I'm just sat here.
And I think Jodie had done like the hand on head emoji. Amy were like rolling off
Amy
floor
joined
laughing.
Me and said I did the same. Yeah.
We're like, shit. Yeah.
Yeah, it was strange when it was
genuinely, for anybody thinking about coming down this path, it goes past so quick. I know everybody you speak to will say the same thing, and you'll think, oh, they're gonna say that. No, honestly,
no. And to be fair,
so quick.
A little bit of context, I was daunted at the idea of already starting kind of 10 years later than you would normally.
Yeah,
that extra year bothered me, and I was like, oh, should I? And then I think it was my mum actually that said to me, this time next year you're going to be 29, so you can either have gone through your college course and be on to the path of nursing, but you're going to turn 29 in a year anyway, so you can either have achieved that college course and be on with it, or not have achieved it and wanting to do it. I was kind of like, so that time's going to pass anyway, I might as well do something with it. And that was what kind of encouraged me to finally take the plunge and do it. But it was daunting to add that extra year, and it can be daunting to add that extra year, but it is worth its weight in gold, particularly when it's well managed and decisions are all agreed across the board and things are following normal paths. It's all great. Promise. You'll have a great time. And if not, you'll be with an amazing set of people, I'm sure. People who go into nursing and, paramedic science, physiotherapists, all of these people that we've had in our groups. It's not just adult nurses, mental health nurses. You've got children's nurses. I think we've got somebody going to learning disability, or somebody was talking about it at one point.
Yeah, someone's talking about physiotherapy.
Yeah, there's physiotherapy. Somebody was talking about going to ODP. There's midwives.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of us. But what is, of course, key in all of that is compassion and care. So you are going to meet a fantastic set of people who have always got a great sense of humour, because you've got to know how to laugh at yourself if you're going to work in the NHS, haven't you? You can't take it too serious.
No, most definitely. And I couldn't, as always, dude, I could not have articulated that any better. You just have a way. You just have a way of sort of literally of saying it all. Man, what a mammoth episode. What a mammoth episode.
It has been, hasn't it?
And I think it's...
But you know what? It has been therapeutic.
This is what I was just going to say to you, and I was going to say it when we come off air as well. I was going to be like, do you know what? It served its purpose. It needed to be this long, because it's all part of the therapy of closure. Yeah, we're waiting for his results and stuff, but we've bottled it up since literally you spoke about that last exam, and we just kind of sat there and we're like, oh, I guess now I'll go back to normality. And we just jumped feet first straight back into normality and didn't actually deal with the course after that. We've just shut the door, did a moniker, put all shit in there, and then didn't want to open the door anymore. And now we've just opened it and it's just come out.
Yeah.
No doubt there'll be people like, I don't know, who jumps out on me. It's off. Hannah, sorry if I do apologize if we've honestly left anything out, because I know if you were to be a guest on here, we literally, I'm sure there would be absolutely loads more that we could talk about.
Everybody would have different perspectives and different things that they remember so clearly.
I'm pretty certain we summarized everything that, more importantly, is going to help the next applicants coming forward to be able to make life-changing decisions like really would push people, if they're considering it, to really think about it and really do it, because it is doable and it feels like it's not when you first look in and you can't work out which loops you've got to jump through and all of that, and it's all a faff because you've got all this paperwork to do, you've got to apply to student finance, and that's an absolute nightmare in itself. But it can be done. It is reasonably easy once you get started, and particularly when you're at college with a bit of guidance. Yeah, it can be done. I can't encourage people enough to do it, particularly if you've been out of school for a little while, because it will. And people even that we spoke to who went in kind of 2017, who did the Access course, so that uni so much easier than the Access course was, because it's not as intense. You're not doing an assignment while you're preparing for an exam, like you would in like you do in an Access course, and so it's not as intense. And yet they haven't even had COVID year, so I reckon that uni's going to be an absolute fucking breeze. I reckon we're just going to be like, dude, give me my certificates now, because I'm on it. I'd literally, on a normal situation like this, I'd be sort of like, I'd just be completely breezing it for first year. But as I found out, my placement starts in first year.
Oh, do they?
Shit.
Do you know where you start yet?
Not yet, no. I've had conversations, obviously, from webinars and stuff, and Caroline had said that we'll know near at time, but we have got a lot of, as you'd imagine, we've got a lot of applicants that are studying with us at Bradford that don't live in Bradford. So people like yourself. So for instance, we have got a lot of placements that are in the Pontefract and Castleford area, which is obviously around where you live. You will be offered nearer to home, but obviously you'll still do your campus things with us. And I'm like, to be fair, you guys are part of my journey. Obviously, I'll be doing my motor vlogging and basically doing videos about the day I've kind of had without going into, data protection detail and stuff. But it'll be my way of decompressing after a shift and, or end of a week, a long busy week, and, things that I could fire back to other mental health nurses in training, other relatable content. You're not alone. You have these thoughts when you come home, and you haven't got the opportunity to vent to a 3-year-old, for instance, about what's been going off, because that's how Layla will end up hiding herself in a cupboard or something like that. Way, Mum, go away. I can't deal with you right now. I'm off to play hide and seek by myself.
Aside from you going on about custody suites.
Yeah.
So this right bruiser today, come sit with me, listen to this.
Oh man. But yeah, man.
Thank you for having me on here, by the way.
Thank you. As I've said, I can't even remember when I asked you now, if it was months and months ago on it. I just need you on, and we'd not even come up probably halfway to the course at this point, and I bet you were thinking, what the hell? Reviewing course, we aren't even anywhere near it. You need to focus, Jax. Think about getting your bloody...
Stop going on about this.
Yeah, get on with it. So, no, I always knew it'd be very informative having you on. So, but like you'd imagine, just like Rest at Bubble Group, the people who tune in to these podcasts are not going to think last of you. We're going to be tracking your journey as well. So... bear in mind, next time you see her,
spotlight issues.
Yeah,
I'm not being shown anyway.
She might be. She might have grey hair on next one. You see, who knows?
I'll be retired nurse by next. Hi, Jax.
I know. But yeah, no, look, I'll just close it out by saying, obviously the video episode version is available on YouTube. There's going to be all information coming up throughout about where to find information on access courses, UCAS, varying bits of information like that. I'll stick it in the description on Spotify as well. And lastly, the thing that's quite relevant as always when I'm talking about Jukebox Jax and mental health awareness, our merchandise is literally coming out this month. For those people that aren't aware, the merchandise that we're selling, we've got varying different ranges from podcast to decades ranges of clothing. 75% of the proceeds go to mental health charities. We're not in this to make money. We're actually in it just to share a love of music, content creation, and if we can manage to obviously put a load of money to mental health charities, because a lot of people intend to donate to charity but don't really get around to it. So if you like us merchandise, you want to support what we're doing, you want to be a part of our growing family, because that's what you all are to us as guests, as people that follow us. You're all part of this movement that we're all moving towards. So if you like what you see, get stuff bought, and 75% of them proceeds go straight directly to UK mental health charities. And it's all our way of doing our bit, and we'll just keep continuing to grow and do it. But yeah, watch out for all the posts coming out shortly. Once I finish editing this 17-hour episode, of course. But yeah, from me, one last time, Lauren, thank you. It's been awesome, just like I thought it would be. And thank you for being at the start and no doubt at the end of my journey, 40 years time, when we're all definitely.
I hope so.
But I appreciate you, man. I appreciate everybody. But yeah, thank you. It's been awesome.